Hi there, friends. Thanks for tuning in to another Harry. Get ready for an incredible journey as we present what if Eleven's telepathy connected with Harry's scar and she rescued him from the Dursleys at age 8. If you find our stories entertaining, a simple like and subscribe would mean everything to us. Your support motivates us to create more. Here we go. Chapter 1, The Connection. The fluorescent lights in Hawkins' lab buzzed overhead as Dr. Brenner adjusted the sensory deprivation tank settings. 11 sat nearby, her thin hospital gown clinging to her small frame, her buzzed hair growing out just enough to show brown fuzz. Today we're going further, 11. I want you to find someone new. Dr. Brenner's voice stayed smooth and controlled, the way it always did when he wanted something. His white hair gleamed under the harsh lights as he knelt to her level. Do you understand? Elle nodded, eyes downcast. Yes, Papa. She'd been through this routine countless times. Enter the tank. Float. Find someone in the void. Listen to their conversations. Report back everything. But today felt different somehow. A strange energy buzzed beneath her skin, like static electricity waiting to discharge. 2 lab technicians helped her into the tank, the salt water cool against her skin as she slipped into the darkness. The lid closed with a metallic clang. Darkness. Complete. Absolute. Elle closed her eyes and let her mind drift outward. The black space of the void materialized around her, water reflecting beneath her bare feet. Normally, Papa wanted her to find Russian scientists or government officials. But today, she'd follow the strange pull she felt tugging at her consciousness. The sensation led her across the void until she spotted something unusual, a thin, lightning-shaped tear in the fabric of the darkness. Golden light spilled from it. Curious, Elle approached and reached out her hand. The moment her fingers touched the tear, a blinding flash erupted. Elle gasped as her consciousness rocketed forward, spinning through a tunnel of golden light. When the spinning stopped, she found herself standing in a small, dark space. A cupboard. The air smelled musty, and dim light filtered through slats in the door. A small boy sat hunched on a thin mattress, his knees pulled to his chest. Dark, messy hair fell over his forehead, partially hiding a lightning-shaped scar identical to the tear she'd just touched. Round glasses sat crookedly on his nose, tape wrapped around the bridge where they'd been broken and repaired many times. His clothes hung off his thin frame, at least 3 sizes too large. Boy! Get out here and finish the dishes. A shrill woman's voice pierced through the door, followed by heavy footsteps. The cupboard door wrenched open, revealing a horse-faced woman with a pinched expression. Did you hear me? Those dishes won't clean themselves. The boy, Harry, Elle somehow knew his name was Harry, scrambled off the mattress. Yes, Aunt Petunia. Sorry, Aunt Petunia. Elle followed as Harry hurried to the kitchen. A massive man with barely any neck sat at the table, newspaper held in front of his purple face. Beside him, a round boy approximately Harry's age shoveled ice cream into his mouth. Mum, Harry's looking at my ice cream, the fat boy whined, pointing a sticky spoon at Harry. Harry quickly looked away, focusing on the sink full of dishes. I wasn't, Dudley. Don't lie, boy, the large man barked, newspaper crinkling as he lowered it. Ungrateful, just like your parents. Harry's shoulders hunched, but he said nothing as he climbed onto a step stool to reach the sink. Elle moved closer, watching his face. Despite the harsh words, Harry's expression remained carefully blank, though his eyes, startlingly green, held a quiet defiance. As Harry scrubbed a particularly stubborn pan, Elle noticed Dudley sneaking up behind him. Before she could react, not that she could affect anything in this vision, Dudley shoved Harry hard. Harry pitched forward, his head cracking against the faucet. Blood immediately streamed from a cut above his eyebrow. Dudley pushed me. Harry cried out, hand pressed to his bleeding head. The large man, Vernon, Elle picked up, rose from his chair, face purpling further. Enough. No one pushed you. Always seeking attention, always making excuses. But, Vernon grabbed Harry's arm, fingers digging in cruelly. To your cupboard. No dinner tonight. Elle followed as Vernon dragged Harry back to the cupboard under the stairs, throwing him inside and slamming the door. The lock clicked into place. In the darkness, Harry finally allowed himself to cry, silent tears streaming down his face as he pressed a corner of his oversized shirt to his bleeding forehead. It's not fair, he whispered to himself. I didn't do anything wrong. Elle felt something tug inside her chest, recognition. She knew what it was like to be locked away, to be punished for things beyond her control. Without thinking, she reached out. Harry. The boy's head snapped up, eyes wide as he peered into the darkness. Who's there? Elle was shocked. He could hear her. That had never happened before in the void. Friend, she said simply, the word still new and precious to her after meeting Mike and the others last year. Where are you? How do you know my name? Harry whispered, frantically wiping tears from his face. Elle moved closer, focusing her energy. To her surprise, Harry's eyes tracked her movement. You see me? Harry nodded slowly. You're glowing a little. Are you a ghost? No. I'm. Elle struggled to explain. I'm from far away. Using my mind to find you. Like, magic? Harry whispered the word reverently, then glanced fearfully at the cupboard door. Uncle Vernon says there's no such thing as magic. He gets really angry when I say that word. Elle frowned. Not magic. Powers. She tapped her temple. In here. Harry's eyes widened. I think I might have powers too. Sometimes, when I'm scared or angry, strange things happen. My hair grew back overnight after Aunt Petunia cut it all off. I ended up on the school roof once when Dudley's gang was chasing me. But I always get in trouble after. Elle's heart raced. He was like her. Different. Special. And being hurt because of it. How old? She asked. I'm 8. Almost 9 in July. Almost the same age she was when she escaped from the lab. A pounding on the cupboard door made Harry jump. Who are you talking to, boy? Vernon bellowed. And no one, Uncle Vernon. If I hear one more peep out of you, you'll regret it. Heavy footsteps retreated. Harry looked back at Elle, lower lip trembling slightly. You should go. If they find out I'm talking to someone, they'll. The fear in his voice made Elle's decision for her. I'll come back. I'll help you. Harry shook his head. No one can help me. Promise, Elle insisted, reaching out to touch his lightning scar. The moment her fingertips connected with it, a shock of energy surged between them. Harry gasped, his eyes momentarily glowing with the same golden light as the tear in the void. In that instant, Elle felt a connection form, a bridge between their minds. Then the void began to dissolve around her. The tank. She was being pulled back to the tank. I'll come back, she promised again as Harry's image faded. Water rushed around Elle as she surfaced in the tank, gasping for breath. The lid opened, Dr. Brenner's face appearing above her, expectant. What did you see, 11? Elle hesitated. Something inside told her to keep Harry a secret. Nothing. No one. Dr. Brenner's expression hardened. You were in the tank for 47 minutes. You must have seen something. Tried to find the man. Couldn't. Elle kept her face blank, the way she'd seen Harry do. Dr. Brenner studied her for a long moment before sighing. Perhaps you need rest. We'll try again tomorrow. Elle allowed the technicians to help her out of the tank and lead her back to her room. Once alone, she sat cross-legged on her bed, closed her eyes, and focused on the connection she'd felt with Harry. The bridge between their minds still existed, faint but present. She wouldn't wait until tomorrow. She needed to see him again now. Mike Wheeler paced across his basement, glancing repeatedly at his watch. She's late. Elle's never late. Dude, chill, Lucas said from the couch where he and Dustin were setting up their D&D character sheets. It's only been 10 minutes. Yeah, but Hopper's super strict about her schedule. And she was really excited about our campaign, Mike insisted, running a hand through his dark hair. Will looked up from sketching a new monster design. Maybe something came up at the cabin. The sudden knock at the basement door made all four boys jump. Mike practically sprinted to answer it. Elle stood there, wearing the blue jacket Hopper had bought her and a determined expression. You're here. Mike's face broke into a wide smile. Elle nodded distractedly, stepping inside and scanning the faces of her friends. Need help? The boys exchanged glances. What's wrong? Mike asked, immediately concerned. Elle took a deep breath. Found someone. A boy. Like me. Like you. Dustin perked up. You mean with powers? Elle nodded. Different powers. But, special. And what? Lucas prompted when she trailed off. Bad people hurt him. Elle's voice hardened. Like Papa hurt me. The room fell silent. They all knew bits and pieces of what Elle had endured at Hawkins' lab. Who is he? Where is he? Mike asked. Elle frowned in concentration. Harry. His name is Harry. He's far. Different place. Different place like the Upside Down? Will asked quietly. Elle shook her head. No. Normal place. But far. She pointed toward the D&D world map on the table. Across the ocean. England. England? Dustin's eyes widened. How did you find someone in England? Elle touched her temple. In here. Connected through. She struggled for the words, then drew a lightning bolt on her forehead with her finger. He has a lightning scar. Lucas clarified. Elle nodded. And he has powers? Mike asked. What kind? Not sure. Different from mine. But strong. Dustin jumped up. This is insane. There's someone else with powers, halfway across the world, and you just found him. In your mind. We have to help him, Will said softly. The others turned to look at him. If bad people are hurting him like they hurt Elle, we have to help. Mike nodded firmly. Will's right. We helped Elle, and now we'll help Harry. But he's in England, Lucas pointed out reasonably. How are we supposed to help someone on another continent? Elle's eyes hardened with determination. I can reach him. You mean with your mind? Mike asked. More. Elle took a deep breath. I can bring him here. The basement erupted in chaos. What? How? That's impossible. Elle, what are you talking about? Elle waited for them to quiet down. The gate. I opened it before. I can open a small one. Just for him. Horror crossed Mike's face. No, Elle. Opening gates is dangerous. Remember the Demogorgon? Not to Upside Down, Elle explained. Different. A tunnel. Just to Harry. I don't know, Elle, Dustin said skeptically. Interdimensional travel isn't something to mess around with. Not dimension. Just, space. Elle struggled to explain the concept. Like, telephone but with body. The boys exchanged dubious looks. Even if you could, Lucas said, what would we do with some random kid from England? His family would report him missing. The police would look for him. Bad family, Elle stated flatly. Lock him in cupboard. No food. Hit him. The room fell silent again. They lock him in a cupboard? Will asked, his voice barely audible. Elle nodded solemnly. That settles it, Mike declared. We're helping him. But how would we hide him? Lucas, ever practical, asked. Where would he stay? The cabin has room, Elle said. Hopper works long hours. Hopper would definitely notice another kid living in his cabin, Dustin pointed out. Elle frowned, considering this. Castle buyers? Will nodded slowly. We could fix it up. Make it more secure for a few days while we figure things out. This is crazy, Lucas muttered, but his tone had shifted from opposition to reluctant consideration. We need supplies, Mike said, moving into planning mode. Food, blankets, flashlights. First aid kit, Dustin added. If these people hurt him, he might need medical attention. And clothes, Will suggested. English weather is different. He'll need warmer stuff. Elle watched her friends transform from skeptical to supportive in minutes. The familiar warmth of gratitude filled her chest. Thank you. Mike turned to her, his expression serious. When do you want to try this? Elle glanced at the clock on the wall. Tonight. When dark. Easier to hide. That's only a few hours from now. Lucas exclaimed. We better hurry then, Mike replied, already moving to gather supplies. As the stars appeared over Hawkins, Indiana, castle buyers had been transformed. The boys had reinforced the walls with extra tarps, brought in sleeping bags and blankets, stashed non-perishable food, and set up a small battery-powered lantern. It wasn't luxurious, but it would keep someone safe and hidden for a short time. Elle sat cross-legged in the center of the small fort, a blindfold tied around her eyes. Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will formed a protective circle around her, each clutching their assigned supplies. Remember, Mike said quietly, if anything weird happens, any lights, strange sounds, anything, we grab Elle and run. The others nodded solemnly. Elle took a deep breath and focused on the connection she'd felt with Harry. The bridge between their minds glowed faintly in her consciousness. She reached for it, strengthening it, following it back to the boy with the lightning scar. The void materialized around her. This time, she didn't need to search. The golden tear was larger now, pulsing with energy. Elle approached it confidently and stepped through. She found herself back in the cupboard under the stairs. Harry lay curled up on the thin mattress, asleep but restless. A fresh bruise darkened his cheek, and his glasses lay broken beside him. Harry, Elle whispered, kneeling beside him. His eyes fluttered open, widening when he saw her. You came back, he whispered, sitting up quickly and wincing. I promised. Elle noticed his wince. You're hurt. Harry shrugged, the casual gesture contradicted by the pain in his eyes. Uncle Vernon got mad because I dropped a plate. Elle's jaw tightened. I'm taking you away from here. Hope flashed across Harry's face before fading. You can't. They'll just find me and bring me back. They always do. Not this time, Elle insisted. I can take you far away. Where they can't find you. Harry studied her face. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. I know enough. Elle held out her hand. Do you want to come? Harry hesitated, glancing around the cupboard that had been his prison for as long as he could remember. What about school and stuff? We have schools. Better ones. And friends. My friends. Friends? The word seemed foreign on Harry's tongue. Elle nodded. Good friends. They're waiting to meet you. That seemed to decide it. Harry grabbed his broken glasses, putting them on despite the cracked lens. How do we get out? The door is locked, and even if it wasn't, Uncle Vernon would hear. Elle smiled slightly. With a small tilt of her head, the cupboard door's lock clicked open. Harry's eyes widened. How did you, Powers? Elle reminded him. Ready? After a moment's hesitation, Harry nodded. Elle closed her eyes, concentrating harder than she ever had before. She visualized the bridge between their minds expanding, widening into a tunnel large enough for a person to travel through. The air in the cupboard began to shimmer, golden light spilling from nowhere. A circular opening formed in the air beside them, revealing the interior of Castle Byers on the other side. The astonished faces of Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will stared back at them. Holy shit, Dustin's voice came through clearly. She actually did it. Blood began to trickle from Elle's nose with the effort of maintaining the portal. Now, Harry. Quickly. Harry stared at the opening in disbelief. Is that America? Elle nodded, the strain evident on her face. With one last glance at his cupboard, Harry grabbed Elle's outstretched hand and stepped toward the portal. As they approached, Elle felt Harry's hand grow warm in hers, the connection between them surging with power. The golden light around the portal intensified. They stepped through together, a rush of energy washing over them as they crossed the threshold. The moment they were through, Elle released her hold on the portal, and it snapped closed behind them. She collapsed to her knees, blood streaming from both nostrils now. Mike rushed to her side while the other boys stared at Harry in amazement. Elle. Are you okay? Mike asked, supporting her shoulders. Elle nodded weakly. Tired. But okay. Harry stood frozen, taking in the strange fort and the four boys staring at him. His oversized pajamas hung off his thin frame, and his taped glasses sat crookedly on his nose. The bruise on his cheek stood out starkly against his pale skin. Hello, he said nervously, his British accent immediately apparent. I'm Harry. Harry Potter. Dustin was the first to recover. Dude. You really do have a lightning scar. He pointed to Harry's forehead. Harry's hand automatically went up to cover it. Yeah. Had it since I was a baby. I'm Mike. Mike introduced himself, still supporting Elle. This is Lucas, Dustin, and Will. And you've already met Elle. Harry nodded, looking around in wonder. Am I really in America? Hawkins, Indiana, Will confirmed quietly. Welcome. Lucas stepped forward with a backpack. We brought you some clothes. They're Will's, so they might still be a bit big, but better than that. Harry accepted the backpack gratefully. Thank you. This is. I can't believe this is happening. Believe it, Dustin grinned. Elle's pretty amazing. Elle had recovered enough to sit up on her own. Safe now, she told Harry. Promise. Harry looked at each of them, as if expecting to wake up from a dream at any moment. Why would you all help me? You don't even know me. Elle said you needed help, Mike said simply. That's what friends do. Friends, Harry repeated, the word still strange but beginning to feel possible. You should get changed, Will suggested, pointing to a corner of Castle Byers they'd sectioned off with a hanging blanket. Then maybe you can tell us about your powers. Harry's eyes widened. My what? Elle said you have powers, Dustin explained eagerly. Different from hers. I don't really. Harry stammered. Elle placed a reassuring hand on his arm. It's okay. They know. About me. About you. Safe to talk. Harry swallowed hard and nodded. Okay. I'll change first. As Harry disappeared behind the blanket, the others huddled together. I can't believe it worked, Lucas whispered. You actually opened a portal to England. Not England, Elle corrected, her strength returning. Harry. Connected to Harry, not the place. Still incredible, Mike said, squeezing her hand. What's the plan now? Will asked. He can't stay in Castle Byers forever. Before anyone could answer, a crash came from behind the blanket, followed by Harry's startled yelp. They rushed over to find Harry standing amid shattered glass. The lantern they'd placed in the corner had exploded. I am sorry. Harry stammered, looking terrified. I didn't mean to. It just happened when I was thinking about everything and getting excited and, dude. Dustin interrupted, eyes wide with excitement rather than anger. Did you do that with your mind? Harry froze. You're not mad. Mad? That was awesome. Dustin exclaimed. It happens sometimes, Harry explained cautiously. When I'm scared or excited. Things break or move. Once, my teacher's hair turned blue after she yelled at me. Elle stepped closer, examining the shattered glass with interest. Then she extended her hand, focusing. The glass shards trembled, then rose into the air, reassembling into the lantern shape before gently setting down, completely restored. Harry's jaw dropped. That's brilliant. A small, proud smile touched Elle's lips. Different powers. But both special. This is unreal, Lucas muttered, looking between them. Two kids with powers. Mike cleared his throat. We should focus. Harry needs a safer place than Castle Byers. What about your basement? Will suggested to Mike. Just for tonight? Mike nodded slowly. My parents never go down there this late. We could sneak him in, and tomorrow we'll figure something more permanent. And what about when people start looking for him? Lucas asked. His family will report him missing. A dark expression crossed Harry's face as he finished changing into Will's clothes. They won't. What do you mean they won't? Mike asked. They'll be glad I'm gone, Harry said matter-of-factly. They've always said I'm nothing but trouble. A burden they were forced to take in when my parents died. The casual way he said it made the room fall silent. Well, you're not a burden to us, Mike declared firmly. You're one of us now. Harry looked up, surprise and hope warring on his face. Really? Elle nodded, taking his hand. Their connection hummed between them, warm and reassuring. Really? Promise. Dr. Brenner reviewed the readings from 11th session in the tank earlier that day. Something wasn't right. The energy signatures showed massive spikes, far larger than her typical output during remote viewing. Sir, you should see this, one of the lab technicians called from a monitoring station. Brenner moved to look at the screens. Energy readings from around Hawkins showed an anomalous spike approximately 30 minutes ago, centered near the Byers residence. 11, Brenner murmured. What are you up to? He turned to his team. Prepare a search unit. I want eyes on the Byers house, the Wheeler residence, and all their known associates. As his team scrambled to follow orders, Brenner returned to the data from 11th's tank session. The energy pattern was unusual, not just stronger than normal, but qualitatively different. As if her power had interacted with something else. Something new. His thin lips curved into a smile. After all these years, had 11 found another subject with abilities? The possibilities were intriguing. Thousands of miles away in Scotland, alarms blared in the headmaster's office at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Albus Dumbledore hurried to a silver instrument on his shelf that had suddenly begun emitting puffs of red smoke. His expression grew grave as he examined it. Fawkes, he addressed the phoenix perched nearby, it seems young Harry Potter is no longer at Privet Drive. The phoenix trilled a concerned note. Indeed, most troubling, Dumbledore agreed, already moving to the fireplace. He threw in a handful of green powder. Ministry of Magic, Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes. When a face appeared in the flames, Dumbledore spoke urgently. We have a situation. Harry Potter has vanished from his relative's home, and the protective wards have collapsed. But most concerning, the magical signature suggests intercontinental translocation. Intercontinental, the Ministry official gasped. That's impossible for accidental magic. Are we dealing with a kidnapping? I'm not certain, Dumbledore replied, his blue eyes troubled. The magical signature is unusual. Not like any spell or apparition I've encountered. Assemble a team immediately. And contact Arabella Figg, she monitors the Dursley residence. As the connection ended, Dumbledore moved to his window, gazing out at the night sky. Where are you, Harry Potter? He whispered. And what power has found you? Back in Hawkins, the party had successfully smuggled Harry into Mike's basement. The boys had constructed a fort of blankets and couch cushions, creating a hidden sleeping space behind the sofa. Harry sat cross-legged on a sleeping bag, surrounded by his new friends as they shared a midnight feast of stolen cookies, chips, and soda, luxuries he'd rarely experienced at the Dursleys. So you've never had a Coke before? Dustin asked incredulously. Harry shook his head, taking another sip of the fizzy drink. Dudley gets them all the time, but I never was allowed. Man, your relatives sound like total mouth breathers, Lucas commented. Harry furrowed his brow. Mouth what? Mouth breathers, Mike explained. It means jerks. Losers. Harry grinned. Oh, yeah. They're definitely mouth breathers then. Elle sat close to Harry, occasionally reaching out to touch his arm or shoulder, as if reassuring herself he was really there. The connection between them hummed pleasantly whenever they made contact. Does your scar ever hurt? She asked suddenly. Harry touched it reflexively. Sometimes. I get headaches. And sometimes I have strange dreams. What kind of dreams? Will asked softly. Sometimes. I dream about green light and someone screaming, Harry admitted. My aunt says that's how my parents died, in a car crash. That's how I got the scar. Elle frowned. Not true. Harry turned to her. What do you mean? When we connected. I saw, not car. Something else. Something. She struggled for the word. Magic. The basement fell silent. Magic? Like real magic? Dustin whispered excitedly. Harry shrugged uncomfortably. I don't know. Uncle Vernon says there's no such thing as magic. He gets really angry when anyone mentions it. People get angry about things they fear, Mike observed wisely. Elle nodded in agreement. Your power. Different than mine. Feels like magic. As if to demonstrate, Elle focused on an empty soda can, crushing it without touching it. My power comes from here. She tapped her head. From mind. Yours feels different. From everywhere in you. Harry looked down at his hands. I never thought of it that way. Things just happen around me. Can you try? Will encouraged gently. To make something happen on purpose. Harry bit his lip. I've never tried to do it on purpose. It just happens when I'm upset or scared. Maybe try feeling that way on purpose. Lucas suggested. Or. Elle took Harry's hand. Together. The moment their hands connected, the basement lights flickered. Harry gasped as he felt a surge of energy flow through him, different from anything he'd experienced before. I feel it, he whispered. It's like, buzzing under my skin. Elle nodded. Focus. Want something to happen. Harry closed his eyes, concentrating. He thought about the broken glasses in his pocket, the ones Dudley had stepped on countless times. He wanted them fixed, wanted to see clearly without tape holding them together. The temperature in the basement seemed to drop several degrees. The lights flickered more violently. Then, the broken glasses rose from Harry's pocket, hovering in the air before them. Before everyone's astonished eyes, the cracks in the lenses sealed themselves, the bent frame straightened, and the tape unwound and disappeared. The glasses gently lowered back into Harry's lap, looking brand new. Holy shit! Dustin exclaimed. Harry picked up the glasses in disbelief, putting them on. They're perfect. Better than when they were new. Elle smiled, pride shining in her eyes despite the blood trickling from her nose. Told you. Magic. But I couldn't have done that without you, Harry pointed out. Maybe at first, Elle acknowledged. But now you know how. Can feel it. Harry nodded, a new confidence straightening his shoulders. Yeah, I can feel it. This is insane, Lucas muttered. Telekinesis is one thing, but actual magic. Repairing objects. Think of what else you could do, Mike said excitedly. You could. A sudden noise from upstairs silenced them all. Footsteps. Someone's coming. Mike hissed. Everyone hide. Harry and Elle ducked behind the blanket fort while the others scrambled to look natural, grabbing D&D manuals and pretending to be in the middle of campaign planning. The basement door opened to reveal Karen Wheeler in a bathrobe. Michael? It's almost midnight. What are you boys still doing up? Sorry, Mom, Mike replied with practiced innocence. We lost track of time planning our next campaign. Karen sighed. Well, it's time for everyone to go home. You can continue tomorrow. But Mom, no buts. It's a school night. The boys exchanged panicked glances. Can't they just sleep over? Mike tried. We've already got sleeping bags down here. Karen considered this. Did everyone call their parents? A chorus of, yes, Mrs. Wheeler answered her. Fine. But lights out in 15 minutes, and I mean it. She paused, looking around. Where's Jane? I thought she was with you too. Mike swallowed. Hopper picked her up earlier. Chief stuff, you know. Karen nodded, seemingly satisfied. 15 minutes, she reminded them before heading back upstairs. Once they heard her bedroom door close, everyone relaxed. That was close, Dustin whispered. Elle and Harry emerged from their hiding spot. What now? Harry asked. If everyone has to go home. Change of plan, Mike decided. You and Elle stay here tonight. The rest of us will cover for Elle with Hopper. I'll call him from my house, Will volunteered. Tell him Elle's sleeping over with Max. Elle nodded gratefully. Thanks. As Lucas, Dustin, and Will gathered their things to maintain the sleepover ruse, Mike pulled out extra pillows and blankets for Harry and Elle. We'll meet back here first thing tomorrow morning, Mike told them. Try to get some sleep. And Harry? Harry looked up. Yeah. Mike grinned. Welcome to the party. After the others had gone, Harry and Elle settled into their makeshift beds on opposite sides of the blanket fort. Despite his exhaustion, Harry found himself wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Elle, he whispered after a while. Yes. Thank you. For saving me. In the darkness, Elle smiled. Friends help friends. I've never had friends before, Harry admitted. Me neither. Before Mike and the others. Harry rolled onto his side, facing her direction. What happened to you? Why were you in that lab place I saw? Elle was quiet for so long Harry thought she might have fallen asleep. Finally, she spoke. Bad men took me when I was a baby. Made me do tests. Hurt me when I failed. Her voice was flat, emotionless, the only way she could talk about it. Called me 11. Not a name. A number. Harry's chest tightened with empathy. That's worse than the Dursleys. Different. Same. Elle shrugged in the darkness. Both bad. How did you escape? Opened a gate. Different gate. Bad things came through. Elle's voice dropped. People died. Harry absorbed this. But you got away. Yes. Found Mike. Then Hopper. Safe now. She paused. Like you. Safe now. Harry wanted to believe her. But years of disappointment had taught him to be cautious. What if they find me? The Dursleys, or whoever gave me this scar. Elle's voice hardened with determination. Won't let them take you. Promise. Somehow, Harry believed her. The connection between them pulsed reassuringly, like a heartbeat binding them together. Elle. Yes. I'm glad you found me. Me too. As they finally drifted off to sleep, neither was aware of the two very different forces converging on Hawkins, one seeking a test subject with extraordinary abilities, the other searching for the boy who lived. Dr. Brenner stood in the darkened living room of the Byers house, flashlight sweeping across the empty space. His team had reported no activity here, but the energy readings had been strongest in this vicinity. He moved toward the backyard, following the residual trace of power. The beam of his flashlight landed on a crude wooden structure partially hidden among the trees. Castle Byers, he read from the sign. Inside, he found evidence of recent occupation, food wrappers, a broken lantern repaired too perfectly, and, most interestingly, a small pile of oversized children's clothes with British laundry tags. Brenner picked up a shirt, examining the tag, Privet Elementary School uniform, property of H. Potter. A smile spread across his face. Well, well. What have you found, 11? He placed the clothes in an evidence bag and spoke into his radio. Expand the search to the Wheeler residence. And get me everything you can find on a British child named Potter. In London, Cornelius Fudge, Minister for Magic, paced his office while various magical instruments whirred and spun, attempting to locate Harry Potter. This is a disaster, Dumbledore, he fretted. The boy who lived, vanished without a trace. Albus Dumbledore sat calmly, examining a compass-like device. Not without a trace, Cornelius. The magical signature is quite distinctive. I've never encountered anything like it. What does that mean? Was it dark magic? Death Eaters? I don't believe so, Dumbledore replied thoughtfully. The energy bears no resemblance to any known wizard's magical signature. It's almost Muggle in nature. Fudge stopped pacing. Muggle? Impossible. No Muggle could breach the protections you placed around the boy. Unless. Dumbledore's eyes lit with sudden understanding. Unless we're dealing with something neither Muggle nor magical, but something in between. Speaking in riddles won't find the boy, Albus. Dumbledore rose. Our tracking spells indicate Potter is somewhere in the United States. A small town in Indiana, to be precise. America? Fudge spluttered. How in Merlin's name did he get to America? That, Dumbledore said gravely, is what we must discover. I suggest we send a small team. Minerva and I will go, along with Alastair Moody for security. The Americans won't like it, Fudge warned. Their magical congress is very territorial. Then we shall have to be discreet, Dumbledore replied, already moving toward the door. The boy who lived cannot remain missing. Too much depends on him. As Dumbledore left, Fudge collapsed into his chair. Merlin help us all if you know whose supporters learn of this, he whispered to the empty room. Morning sunlight filtered through the basement windows when Harry awoke. For a disorienting moment, he couldn't remember where he was. The space was too large to be his cupboard, too comfortable to be anywhere in the Dursley house. Then he saw Elle sleeping nearby, and everything came rushing back. America. Friends. Magic. Freedom. He sat up, putting on his newly repaired glasses and looking around in wonder. It hadn't been a dream after all. Elle stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Morning, she mumbled. Morning, Harry replied, still marveling at the reality of it all. The basement door opened, and Mike peeked in. You guys awake? My mom's making waffles, and I can sneak some down here. Harry's stomach rumbled at the mention of food. At the Dursleys, he was lucky to get toast and a small portion of whatever breakfast he'd cooked for the others. Egos? Elle asked hopefully. Mike grinned. Even better. Homemade. While Mike disappeared upstairs, Harry turned to Elle. What are Egos? Waffles, Elle explained. But frozen. Good. I've never had waffles before, Harry admitted. Dursleys said they were too expensive to waste on me. Elle's expression darkened. Bad people. Before Harry could respond, the basement door opened again, and Lucas, Dustin, and Will filed in quietly. Operation Breakfast is underway, Dustin announced in a stage whisper, helping Mike carry down plates of waffles, syrup, and orange juice. Harry stared at the plate handed to him, golden waffles stacked high, butter melting on top, syrup drizzled generously. It looked like something from a television commercial, the kind of breakfast Dudley would get on his birthday. This is all for me, he asked incredulously. The others exchanged concerned glances. Yeah, man. It's just breakfast, Lucas said, trying to sound casual despite his growing concern about Harry's home life. Harry took a tentative bite and couldn't help the small sound of pleasure that escaped him. This is amazing. While they ate, Mike outlined the day's plan. We need a better hiding place than my basement. Mom's going to notice eventually. What about the junkyard? Lucas suggested. The bus is still there. Too exposed, Mike dismissed. And cold at night. Hopper's cabin? Will suggested. Elle shook her head. Hopper would find out. Ask questions. What about the tunnels? Dustin proposed. Absolutely not, Mike and Lucas said simultaneously, remembering their last experience underground. Harry listened to their debate, amazed that these kids he'd just met were so invested in keeping him safe. At the Dursleys, no one had ever put his welfare first. What about school? Harry asked suddenly. Don't you have to go to school? The party exchanged guilty glances. Well, technically, yes, Mike admitted. But this is more important. We can't all skip, Lucas pointed out reasonably. That would definitely raise suspicion. 2 of us go, 3 stay with Harry and Elle. Dustin suggested. I should go home, Elle said reluctantly. Hopper will check. I'll go to school, Will volunteered. Mom's already worried about me missing too much. I'll go too, Lucas added. My parents are super strict about attendance. So that leaves me and Dustin with Harry, Mike concluded. And me after school, Elle reminded them. Harry felt a wave of gratitude toward these people who were rearranging their lives for him. I don't want to cause trouble for anyone. You're not trouble, Harry, Mike assured him. You're our friend now. And friends, help friends, Harry finished, smiling. Their planning was interrupted by a thunderous knock at the front door upstairs. Everyone froze. Police. Open up, a gruff voice called. Shit, it's Hopper. Mike hissed. Elle's eyes widened in alarm. He can't find Harry yet. Not until I explain. The sound of Karen Wheeler answering the door filtered down to them. Chief Hopper, what a surprise. Is everything okay? Looking for Jane, Mrs. Wheeler. Is she here? Jane. No, I haven't seen her. Michael said she left early yesterday evening. Heavy footsteps moved through the house above them. Mind if I check the basement? The kids tend to hang out down there. Of course, but I'm sure she's not. Footsteps approached the basement door. Hide. Mike whispered urgently to Harry. Elle grabbed Harry's hand. Together. Before Harry could ask what she meant, Elle closed her eyes in concentration. A strange sensation washed over him, like being wrapped in an invisible blanket. The basement door opened, and Chief Jim Hopper's imposing figure descended the stairs. His sharp eyes surveyed the room, taking in Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and were frozen in place around their breakfast plates. "Where is she?" Hopper demanded. "Who?" Mike attempted innocence. "Cut the crap, Wheeler." "Jane." "Elle." "Where is she?" "She's not here," Mike insisted. Hopper's eyes narrowed as he scanned the basement again. For a heart-stopping moment, his gaze seemed to pass right over where Harry and Elle stood hand in hand, but he showed no reaction. Harry held his breath. Could they really be invisible? "If you're hiding her, kid, you're just putting her in danger," Hopper said seriously. "There's government vehicles back at the lab. Brenner's people are moving around town. Something set them off." The boys exchanged nervous glances. "We don't know anything about that," Dustin said, too quickly. Hopper sighed heavily. "When you see her, tell her to come straight home. It's not safe right now." He turned to leave, then paused. "And whatever you're mixed up in, be careful." Once Hopper's cruiser had driven away, Elle released her hold on Harry's hand. The invisible sensation melted away. "How did you do that?" Harry gasped. "Not invisible," Elle explained, wiping blood from her nose. "Made him not see." "Different." "You mean you made him not notice us?" Harry asked, fascinated. "Like, changing his perception?" Elle nodded. "Hard. Hurts." "That was too close," Mike said, pacing anxiously. "If Brenner's people are back, and now Hopper's suspicious too." "We need a better plan," Lucas agreed. "Did you hear what Hopper said?" Will asked, his voice tense. "About government vehicles at the lab?" "Brenner," Elle whispered, fear flashing across her face. "Papa." Harry moved closer to her. "The bad man who hurt you?" Elle nodded, unconsciously rubbing her wrist where the 011 tattoo marked her skin. "He won't hurt you again," Harry said with surprising firmness. "I won't let him." The declaration would have seemed laughable coming from such a small, skinny boy if not for the fierce determination in his eyes, and the way the lights flickered when he said it. "He won't hurt either of you," Mike vowed. "None of us will let that happen." "But we need a safer place," Dustin insisted. "Like, yesterday." "What about the cabin but not inside?" Will suggested. "There are caves in those woods. We could set up there, close enough for Elle to get back and forth easily." "Caves sound cold and wet," Lucas frowned. "Better than captured," Elle pointed out. "She's right," Mike decided. "We'll scout the caves after school. For now, Harry should stay here with Dustin and me. My mom's going shopping, so the house will be empty most of the day." As Will and Lucas prepared to leave for school, and Elle reluctantly headed back to Hopper's cabin, Harry felt a twinge of anxiety at being separated from Elle. The connection between them had become a comfort, a reassurance that he wasn't alone anymore. Elle seemed to sense his unease. "Still connected," she reminded him, tapping her temple. "Always. I'll feel if you need me." Harry nodded, trying to look braver than he felt. "Be careful. You too." As the others departed, leaving Harry alone with Mike and Dustin, an awkward silence fell over the basement. "So," Dustin finally said, clapping his hands together. "Wanna see how American TV compares to British TV?" Harry's face lit up. "I've never really watched TV. Dudley did, but I wasn't allowed." Mike and Dustin exchanged horrified glances. "Dude," Dustin declared solemnly. "You have so much catching up to do." Elle walked slowly through the woods toward Hopper's cabin, mentally preparing her explanation for where she'd been all night. The connection with Harry hummed in the back of her mind, reassuring her that he was safe for now. As the cabin came into view, she paused. Something felt wrong. Instead of approaching directly, she circled around to observe from the trees. Two black sedans were parked nearby, vehicles she recognized all too well from her time at the lab. Her heart raced as she spotted men in suits searching the perimeter of the cabin. Through the window, she could see Hopper arguing with someone inside. Elle ducked lower, focusing her hearing to catch snippets of conversation. "Told you, she's been with me the whole time." Hopper's voice was angry, defensive. "Our readings indicate otherwise, Chief." A cold, familiar voice replied. "Dr. Brenner. A significant energy event occurred last night. The kind only 11 could produce." "Her name is Jane," Hopper growled. "Where is she now?" Brenner asked, ignoring the correction. "At a friend's house. Normal kid stuff." "I see. And have you noticed anything unusual recently? New friends, perhaps?" Elle's blood ran cold. Somehow, Brenner knew about Harry. She backed away carefully, then turned and ran deeper into the forest. She needed to warn the others. Brenner was hunting them both now. Harry was halfway through his first ever Star Wars viewing when the lights in Mike's basement suddenly flickered violently. The television shut off, then turned back on, cycling through channels randomly. That's not normal," Dustin said nervously. Harry felt a sudden pressure building in his head. The connection with Elle that had been a gentle background hum was now pulsing urgently, almost painfully. "Something's wrong," he gasped, pressing his hands to his temples. "Elle's in trouble." Mike jumped to his feet. "How do you know?" "I can feel it," Harry winced as the pressure increased. She's trying to reach us." As if on cue, the phone rang upstairs. Mike raced to answer it. "Hello?" Mike's voice drifted down. Then, more urgently, "Will. Slow down." "What?" Harry and Dustin exchanged worried glances. Mike came thundering back down the stairs, face pale. "Will just called from school. He said men in suits are asking questions about a new British kid. They showed his teachers a photo." "How did they get a photo of Harry?" Dustin asked, bewildered. "I don't know, but Will said they're coming here next." Harry stood shakily. "I should go. I'm putting you all in danger." "No way," Mike said firmly. "We're not abandoning you." "But these people are the same people who hurt Elle," Mike cut him off. "We've dealt with them before." "We need to move," Dustin urged. "Like, now." "Where?" Harry asked. Mike thought quickly. "The junkyard. It's not ideal, but it's far from here and we know the territory." As they gathered supplies, Harry felt the pressure in his head ease slightly, replaced by a sense of direction, like a compass pointing north. "Elle's trying to tell us something," he said suddenly. "I can feel her. She wants us to go." He turned, pointing. "That way." "That's toward the quarry," Mike noted. "Then that's where we're going," Dustin decided. "If Elle's guiding us, we follow." They slipped out through the basement's external door, using backyards and side streets to avoid main roads. Harry kept his focus on the mental pull, adjusting their direction whenever the feeling shifted. "I've never felt anything like this before," he told the others as they hurried along. "It's like she's inside my head." "Elle has that effect," Mike said with a small smile despite their situation. The pull led them to the edge of the quarry, then along its rim toward a dense section of forest. "There's nothing out here," Dustin panted as they climbed a steep hill. "Yes, there is," Harry insisted, the connection growing stronger. "She's close." They crested the hill and found themselves facing a small cave opening, partially hidden by brush. Elle stood at the entrance, waiting. "Elle." Mike called in relief. Elle put a finger to her lips, gesturing them inside quickly. Once in the cave, she spoke in a hushed voice. "Bad men. At Hopper's cabin. Looking for us." "How did they find out about Harry so fast?" Dustin wondered. Elle shook her head. "Don't know. But Papa, he knows something happened. Feels it." "Papa?" Harry questioned. Dr. Brenner, Mike explained grimly. The man who kept Elle prisoner. He calls himself her Papa. Harry's expression hardened. I know about people like that. People who hurt kids and act like they're doing it for your own good. Elle nodded, recognizing the understanding in Harry's eyes that could only come from similar experience. We can't stay in Hawkins, she said firmly. Not safe. Where can we go? Mike asked. They'll be watching the bus station, the roads. Harry and Elle exchanged a look, their connection vibrating with possibility. We could try. Harry began hesitantly. I mean, if Elle could open a portal once. No, Mike said immediately, understanding where this was going. Elle, it nearly drained you completely to bring Harry here. Trying again could kill you. Not the same way, Elle clarified. Not to England. Just, away from here. Somewhere in America. Like teleporting? Dustin asked, eyes wide. Elle frowned in concentration. Maybe. Different. Sliding between spaces. Even so, Mike argued, it's too dangerous. More dangerous to stay, Elle countered. Before they could debate further, a distant voice echoed outside the cave. Check that ridge. The energy signature is strongest in this direction. They froze, recognizing the clinical tone of lab personnel. They're tracking us somehow, Dustin whispered. Like, actually tracking our energy or something. Elle's eyes widened in realization. The connection. Between me and Harry. They can feel it. Harry looked down at his hands. So it's my fault they found us. No, Elle said firmly, taking his hands in hers. Not fault. Just, different. The voices grew closer. We have to decide now, Mike urged. Stay and fight, or run. Elle took a deep breath, looking at Harry. Together? Like before. Harry nodded, squeezing her hands. Together. Elle closed her eyes, focusing on their joined hands. The cave air grew heavy, charged with unseen energy. Harry felt the now familiar buzzing sensation spreading through his body, but stronger this time, wilder. I don't think this is safe, Mike warned, backing away slightly as small stones began to levitate around them. Trust me, Elle whispered, blood already trickling from her nose. Harry closed his eyes, joining his concentration with hers. He didn't know exactly what she was trying to do, but he could feel it, a stretching, a pulling of the space around them. Multiple energy signatures inside the cave, a voice called from just outside. Move in. Now, Elle, Harry urged. Elle's eyes snapped open, bleeding from both tear ducts and nose. Away, she shouted. The cave exploded with golden light, enveloping them completely. Harry felt a sensation like being squeezed through a very tight tube, not entirely unlike what he'd experienced traveling through Elle's portal from England. Disorienting vertigo overtook them all. For a fraction of a second that felt like eternity, they existed nowhere and everywhere at once. Then, with a thunderous crack, they slammed back into reality, but not in the cave. They lay sprawled on grass, beneath towering pine trees. Mountains rose in the distance under a bright blue sky. No sign of Hawkins, the quarry, or the lab agents. Where are we? Dustin groaned, sitting up slowly. Elle lay unconscious, blood covering the lower half of her face. Mike scrambled to her side. Elle. Elle, wake up. Harry felt dizzy, drained, but less affected than Elle. Is she okay? Mike checked her pulse. I think she's just unconscious. Using her powers that way, it was too much. But it worked, Dustin noted, looking around in awe. Holy shit, it actually worked. We teleported. But to where? Harry asked, taking in their surroundings. A wooden sign stood nearby, partially covered with moss. Dustin brushed it off, reading aloud, welcome to Granite Falls, Washington. Washington? Mike exclaimed. That's like, thousands of miles away. How is that even possible? Dustin wondered. Harry looked down at Elle's unconscious form, then at his own hands, still tingling with residual energy. Magic, he said simply. Our magic. Dr. Brenner stood at the mouth of the empty cave, face impassive as his team scanned the area with various instruments. They were here, sir, one technician reported. The energy readings are off the charts. But then, it's like they just vanished. Not vanished, Brenner corrected, examining a small golden particle floating in the air where the children had been. Transported. 11 has developed her abilities significantly. How is that possible? Teleportation wasn't part of her documented skill set. Brenner caught the floating particle in a specimen jar. I believe she had help. This new element, this British boy, has catalyzed something in her. Together, they're capable of far more than either alone. He sealed the jar, holding it up to the light. The particle glowed with an inner fire. Fascinating, he murmured. Not quite psionic energy. Something, older. More fundamental. How do we track them now, sir? The equipment can't get a lock on their new location. Brenner smiled thinly. They'll use their powers again. And when they do, we'll be watching. Extend our monitoring network nationwide. I want every energy anomaly flagged and investigated. As his team packed up their equipment, Brenner remained in the cave, running his fingers along the wall where reality had bent to the will of two extraordinary children. Remarkable, he whispered. Simply remarkable. In a modest hotel in Hawkins, Indiana, 3 unusual visitors gathered around a strange silver instrument. The trace ends here, Albus, Professor McGonagall reported, adjusting her spectacles. The magical signature vanished completely approximately 30 minutes ago. Albus Dumbledore studied the device thoughtfully. Not vanished, Minerva. Moved. And at considerable distance, judging by the residual patterns. Apparition. Alastor Moody growled, his magical eye spinning wildly. Impossible for an untrained 8-year-old wizard. Not apparition as we know it, Dumbledore corrected. Something else entirely. The magic involved bears similarities to Potter's signature, but is fundamentally different in composition. Are you suggesting Potter has encountered another magical being? Something not in our records? McGonagall asked. Precisely. Dumbledore's blue eyes twinkled with intrigue despite the seriousness of the situation. Something neither wizard nor muggle, but possessing considerable power nonetheless. Dark creatures? Moody suggested grimly. No, Alastor. The energy lacks the corruption of dark magic. It's pure. Raw. Untamed, but not malevolent. Dumbledore waved his wand over the instrument, causing it to recalibrate with a series of soft chimes. Fascinating, he murmured. It appears young Harry has found himself a most unusual ally. That doesn't solve our immediate problem, Albus, McGonagall reminded him. We must find the boy and return him to the protection of his aunt's home. Yes, we must locate him, Dumbledore agreed. But as for returning him to the Dursleys, I'm beginning to wonder if alternative arrangements might be necessary. The blood wards, McGonagall began. Mean nothing if the boy's magic rejects them, Dumbledore finished. And judging by what we've witnessed, Harry Potter's magic has made its own choice. The instrument suddenly chimed, a new light blinking on its surface. Ah, Dumbledore said, satisfied. We have a new heading. Northwestern United States. Shall we, my friends? With 3 soft pops, the wizards disappeared, leaving only empty air behind. As the sun set over the pine forests of Washington state, Elle finally stirred, eyes fluttering open. She found herself in a small tent, Harry sitting vigil beside her. You're awake, he said, relief evident in his voice. How long? Elle managed, her throat dry. Almost 6 hours, Harry told her, offering a water bottle Mike and Dustin had purchased in town. You really scared us. Elle sipped the water gratefully. Where? Washington State. The other side of the country, according to Mike. He and Dustin went into town to get supplies. Elle nodded weakly. Safe? I think so. For now at least. Harry helped her sit up. That was, incredible, what you did. We did, Elle corrected. Together. Harry nodded, looking down at his hands. I felt it. The power. It was different than before. Bigger. Elle studied him. In the days since they'd first connected, subtle changes were already visible in Harry. He sat straighter, spoke more confidently. The constant fear that had shadowed his eyes was receding, replaced by something new, hope. How did you find me? She asked suddenly. In the void. Before. Harry considered this. I didn't. I think I was calling out, somehow. All my life, I've wished for someone to take me away from the Dursleys. Maybe my magic was looking for help. Through this. Elle gently touched his lightning scar. Harry nodded. It's always felt different from the rest of me. Special, somehow. Before Elle could respond, the tent flap opened, and Mike and Dustin entered, carrying shopping bags. Elle. Mike exclaimed, dropping the bags to rush to her side. You're okay. Weak, she admitted. But okay. We got food, clothes, and a map, Dustin reported, emptying the bags. And look what else. He proudly displayed a newspaper. We're officially missing persons. The front page showed school photos of Elle and Harry, along with the headline, Child Kidnapping Baffles Authorities, British Boy and Local Girl Vanish Under Mysterious Circumstances. Great, Mike muttered. Now the whole country will be looking for you. At least the article gets it wrong, Dustin pointed out. They think you were both kidnapped by unknown foreign agents. No mention of teleporting or powers or anything. What now? Elle asked, looking around their small circle. We need a real plan, Mike said. We can't just keep running. Harry's expression turned thoughtful. Maybe we should try to understand more about my abilities. About who I really am. What do you mean? Dustin asked. Elle said it wasn't a car crash that gave me this scar. That there was magic involved. Harry touched his forehead. Maybe if we understand that, we'll know why these people are after us. But how? Mike questioned. It's not like there's a guidebook to mysterious lightning scars. Elle and Harry exchanged a look, their connection humming with shared understanding. Maybe there is, Elle said softly. When we connect. I see things. Memories. Not Harry's memories. Older. Like, ancestral memories. Dustin's eyes widened. That's straight out of sci-fi. More like. Harry struggled to explain. Imprints. Left on me by whatever gave me this scar. Elle nodded. We could try. Together. To see more. Mike looked concerned. Is that safe? After what just happened? Safer than running forever, Harry pointed out. The logic was hard to argue with. Okay, Mike conceded reluctantly. But be careful. Both of you. Elle and Harry sat cross-legged, facing each other. They joined hands, closing their eyes. Focus on the scar, Elle instructed softly. Not around it. Through it. Harry concentrated, directing his attention to the lightning-shaped mark he'd had for as long as he could remember. Always before, he'd avoided thinking about it too much. It had been a source of mocking from Dudley, of discomfort from his aunt and uncle. But now, he embraced it, pushing his consciousness toward it. The tent around them faded as they entered a shared mental space, not quite the void, but similar. A golden thread connected them, pulsing with energy. This way, Elle guided, following the thread deeper. They found themselves standing in a dimly lit room. A crib stood against one wall. A red-haired woman stood protectively in front of it, facing a tall, hooded figure. "Not Harry, please no, take me, kill me instead," the woman pleaded. "Stand aside, you silly girl, stand aside, now." The hooded figure's voice was high, cold, inhuman. "Not Harry, please no, take me, kill me instead, this is my last warning, not Harry. Please, have mercy, have mercy. Not Harry. Not Harry. Please, I'll do anything, stand aside. Stand aside, girl." A flash of green light erupted from a wand in the hooded figure's hand. The woman crumpled to the floor. The figure approached the crib, where a baby with black hair watched with frightened green eyes. "Avada Kedavra," the figure hissed. Another flash of green light, but this time, something extraordinary happened. The light rebounded from the baby's forehead, striking the hooded figure instead. A terrible scream tore through the air as the figure disintegrated, leaving only a pile of robes and a broken wand. The baby in the crib began to cry, blood trickling from a fresh lightning-shaped cut on his forehead. The scene dissolved, replaced by a swirl of other fragmented images, a giant man carrying the baby through the night sky, an elderly man with a long silver beard placing the child on a doorstep, a stern-looking woman protesting, the words, "blood wards," and "protection" echoing around them. Then darkness, as the connection became too much to maintain. Harry and Elle snapped back to reality, both gasping for breath. "Did you see that?" Harry whispered, tears streaming down his face. "My mother, she died protecting me." Elle nodded solemnly, her own eyes wet. "A bad man. Tried to kill you. But couldn't. What was that light? That spell he used?" "Death," Elle said simply. "Killing magic." Mike and Dustin, who had been watching anxiously, looked bewildered. "What did you see?" Mike asked. Harry swallowed hard. "The night my parents died. It wasn't a car crash. They were murdered, by some kind of wizard." "Wizard? Like, pointy hat, magic wand wizard?" Dustin asked incredulously. Harry nodded. "He had a wand. He killed my mother with it. Then tried to kill me, but it backfired somehow." "The scar," Elle said, pointing to Harry's forehead. "Protection. From your mother's sacrifice." The tent fell silent as they all processed this revelation. "So there's like, a whole magical world out there?" Mike finally asked. "With wizards and stuff. And they want Harry back," Elle concluded. "But why?" Harry wondered. "What's so special about me?" "You survived," Elle said simply. "When no one else could." "The boy who lived," Dustin whispered dramatically. Harry looked troubled. "If there are wizards looking for me, and they can do what that man did to my mother." "We'll protect you," Mike said firmly. "But you're just kids," Harry protested. "We all are. Kids who teleported across the country," Dustin pointed out. "I'd say that gives us an edge." Elle squeezed Harry's hand. "Together. Stronger together." Harry felt the truth of her words resonating through their connection. Whatever power had protected him as a baby seemed to amplify when combined with Elle's abilities. "So what's the plan?" Mike asked. "We can't just hide in the woods forever. We need to know more," Harry decided. "About this wizard world. About why they want me. And about why Brenner wants both of you," Dustin added. Elle's expression hardened at the mention of Brenner. "Papa will never stop. Not until he has what he wants." "Then we don't let him get it," Mike said firmly. As night fell over their makeshift camp, Harry found himself staring up at the stars visible through the tent's mesh window. For the first time in his life, he had friends willing to fight for him. He had Elle, who understood him in ways no one else could. And he had glimpsed the truth about his past, painful though it was. Tomorrow they would need to move again, to plan, to prepare. But tonight, despite everything, Harry Potter felt something new and precious. He felt free. Chapter 2, Powers Collide. Dawn broke over the pine forests of Washington as Harry woke with a start. For a moment, disorientation gripped him, the tent, the sleeping bags, the unfamiliar scent of forest, until memories rushed back. England. The Dursleys. Elle. The escape. Teleportation. Magic. He sat up quietly, careful not to wake the others. Mike and Dustin slept nearby, while Elle lay curled in her sleeping bag, dark circles still visible under her eyes from yesterday's power expenditure. Harry slipped outside the tent, the cool morning air raising goosebumps on his arms. He wore borrowed clothes, jeans and a sweatshirt Dustin had picked up in town, both slightly too big but infinitely better than Dudley's hand-me-downs. For the first time in his life, clothes had been bought specifically for him. He walked a short distance from camp to a small stream they'd found last night. Kneeling, Harry splashed water on his face, then paused to study his reflection. Same messy black hair. Same green eyes. Same lightning scar. But something had changed. The perpetually frightened, hunched posture was gone. His eyes looked clearer, more focused. Just 2 days away from the Dursleys had already transformed him. Better? Harry turned to see Elle approaching, her short hair sticking up in all directions. He smiled. Yeah. Way better. How about you? Still tired? Elle shrugged, kneeling beside him at the stream. Worth it. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the water flow over smooth stones. What we saw. Harry finally said. My mother. The wizard. Was it real? Real, Elle confirmed. Memory. But not my memory. I was just a baby. Elle tapped his scar. Here. Saved in here. Harry touched the lightning mark thoughtfully. Why me? Why did that wizard want to kill me? Don't know, Elle admitted. But important. You're important. Before Harry could respond, a twig snapped behind them. They whirled around to find Mike approaching, hands raised. Just me, he said quickly. Didn't mean to sneak up. Elle relaxed immediately, but Harry noted how ready she'd been to defend them. How they both had been. We should get moving, Mike said, glancing around nervously. Staying in one place too long isn't safe. Where to? Harry asked. Mike scratched his head. I've been thinking about that. We need somewhere with power, like electricity, so we can keep up with news. Find out if anyone's looking for you guys here. Library? Elle suggested. Good idea, Mike agreed. Libraries have newspapers, phones, resources. And no one looks twice at kids hanging around a library. Back at camp, they found Dustin already awake, studying the map he'd bought in town. Morning, interdimensional travelers, he greeted cheerfully. I've been plotting our next move. Let me guess, library? Mike asked. Dustin's face fell. How'd you know? Great minds, Mike grinned, tapping his temple. There's a bigger town about 5 miles south, Dustin explained, pointing to the map. Granite Falls Public Library. Should have everything we need. 5 miles is pretty far to walk, Harry pointed out. Dustin's eyes gleamed. Who said anything about walking? An hour later, having packed their meager belongings, the four approached the outskirts of a small residential neighborhood. Dustin led them confidently through backyards until they reached a particular house with a detached garage. Dustin, Mike hissed, what are we doing? We can't just break into someone's garage. Relax, Dustin replied, approaching a window and peering inside. Perfect. For bikes, and judging by the spider webs, they haven't been used in months. We're stealing bikes now? Harry asked, alarmed. Borrowing, Dustin corrected. We'll return them, eventually. Elle studied the garage door lock for a moment, then flicked her head slightly. The lock clicked open. Elle. Mike protested. Need to move, she said simply. Borrowing. Inside, they found 4 bicycles in various states of neglect. Dustin quickly selected the most serviceable options, and within minutes, they were pedaling down a back road toward town. Harry wobbled uncertainly at first. He'd never been allowed to ride Dudley's bikes, but soon found his balance. The sensation of freedom, of wind in his hair and speed under his control, was exhilarating. This is brilliant, he called, pushing to catch up with the others. Elle, riding beside him, smiled. Despite her exhaustion, she seemed to draw energy from Harry's enthusiasm. Their connection hummed between them, a constant reassurance. Granite Falls proved to be a quiet logging town nestled among towering evergreens. They stashed the bikes in bushes behind the library, then entered the red brick building as casually as possible. The library was modestly sized but warm and inviting. A middle-aged librarian glanced up from the front desk, offering a friendly smile. Morning. Don't often see young folks this early. School project, Mike explained smoothly. On, local history. The librarian nodded approvingly. History section's in the back corner. Let me know if you need anything. They made their way through the stacks to a secluded reading area with a table hidden from the main desk's view. Okay, Mike whispered once they were seated. Dustin, check newspapers for anything about us. Elle and Harry, stay out of sight. I'll look for a map of the area. We need a better hiding place. As they split up, Harry noticed Elle staring intently at a nearby bookshelf. What is it? He asked. Elle pointed to a book with a colorful cover depicting what looked like a wizard casting spells. Magic, she said simply. Harry approached the shelf, finding himself in the fantasy section. The book Elle had spotted was titled A Beginner's Guide to Magic, Myths and Legends from Around the World. His fingers trembled slightly as he pulled it from the shelf. It's just fiction, he whispered. Made-up stories. Elle shook her head. Maybe not. After what we saw. They carried the book back to their table. Harry opened it carefully, as if expecting it to vanish or burst into flames. Inside were chapters on various magical traditions, Egyptian, Celtic, Asian, Native American. Look, Elle pointed to a passage about wand lore. Like the man. In the memory. Harry read aloud in a hushed voice. Many magical traditions believe wands serve as conduits, focusing a practitioner's innate magical energy. The wand itself is not the source of power, but rather an instrument to direct it. Like you, Elle observed. Power inside. Needs direction. Before Harry could respond, Dustin hurried over, newspaper clutched in his hands. Guys, check this out. He whispered urgently, spreading the paper on the table. The headline read, Bizarre Electrical Disturbance Reported in Hawkins, Indiana. Below was a grainy photo of the quarry where they'd teleported from. Department of Energy officials claimed the unusual phenomena were related to equipment tests, Harry read. However, witnesses report seeing strange golden light and hearing a sound like thunder from inside a cave system near Hawkins Quarry. They're covering it up, Mike said, rejoining them with a large atlas. Just like with the lab and the Upside Down. What's the Upside Down? Harry asked. The others exchanged glances. Long story, Mike said. The point is, they know exactly what happened, and they're looking for you. Us, Elle corrected grimly. Dustin pointed to another section of the article. It gets weirder. Look at this quote from a local resident. there were men in strange clothes asking questions all over town. Didn't look like government types, more like they stepped out of a Renaissance fair. Harry felt a chill run down his spine. Wizards. They're looking for me too. Great, Mike muttered. So we've got both secret government agents and wizards after you. This just keeps getting better. We need a plan, Dustin insisted. We need to understand our powers better, Harry said suddenly. If we're going to protect ourselves, we need to know what we can do. Elle nodded in agreement. Practice. Not here, Mike cautioned, glancing toward the front desk. We need somewhere isolated. I think I found a place, Dustin said, pulling the atlas toward him. He pointed to a spot about 20 miles from Granite Falls. Mount Pilchuck. There's an abandoned fire lookout at the top. Remote, good visibility in all directions, and solid shelter. 20 miles is too far to bike, Mike pointed out. Dustin grinned mischievously. Who said anything about biking? 2 hours later, they stood in the parking lot of Bob's Outdoor Adventures, staring at a battered Jeep with a "For Sale" sign in the windshield. This is stealing, Mike hissed. Not borrowing, stealing. We don't have a choice, Dustin argued. We need to get further away, and we need to get there fast. None of us can even drive. Mike exclaimed. I can, Elle said quietly. They all turned to stare at her. Hopper taught me, she explained. For emergencies. Harry studied the Jeep. Even if we take it, we need keys. Not a problem, Dustin said, pulling a screwdriver from his backpack. My dad showed me how to hotwire a car once when he locked his keys inside. Mike paced anxiously. This is insane. We're talking about Grand Theft Auto now. Better than captured, Elle reminded him. Mike threw up his hands in surrender. Fine. But this better work. While Dustin worked on getting the Jeep started, Harry and Elle kept watch. The connection between them had grown stronger over the past day, allowing them to sense danger more effectively together. Someone's coming, Harry whispered suddenly, feeling an inexplicable prickle of warning. Elle nodded, having felt it too. Hide. They ducked behind a nearby truck just as a man in a suit rounded the corner of the building. There was nothing overtly suspicious about him, but something in his methodical movements, the way he scanned the area, triggered alarm bells. Lab person, Elle breathed, barely audible. The man paused, head tilting as if listening to something. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a small device that blinked with red lights. They're tracking our energy signature again, Harry realized. The device in the man's hand began blinking faster as he turned in their direction. Elle's grip on Harry's arm tightened. We have to distract him, Harry whispered. Elle nodded, focusing on a stack of canoes displayed at the edge of the lot. With a subtle movement of her head, the entire stack collapsed with a tremendous crash. The agent spun toward the noise, rushing to investigate. Elle and Harry used the distraction to sprint back to the Jeep, where Dustin had just connected the final wires. Got it, he exclaimed as the engine roared to life. Drive. Mike urged, jumping into the passenger seat while Harry and Elle scrambled into the back. Elle slid behind the wheel, adjusting the seat forward to reach the pedals. For a terrifying moment, the Jeep jerked and stalled as she found the clutch. He's coming back. Harry warned, spotting the agent running toward them. Elle's face hardened with concentration. The Jeep lurched forward, then smoothed out as she found the rhythm of the gears. They peeled out of the lot just as the agent reached for his radio. That was way too close, Mike gasped as Elle navigated onto the main road, quickly accelerating. How did he find us? Dustin wondered. We're thousands of miles from Hawkins. The connection, Harry explained, gesturing between himself and Elle, they can track it somehow. Can you turn it off? Mike asked. Elle and Harry exchanged glances, both instinctively knowing the answer. No, they said simultaneously. Great, Dustin sighed. So we're basically driving around with a magical homing beacon. Elle focused on the road, hands gripping the wheel tightly as she navigated the unfamiliar vehicle. Despite the danger, Harry noticed a small smile playing at her lips, the thrill of driving, of taking action rather than being acted upon. You're good at this, he told her. Freedom, she replied simply. They drove for nearly an hour, winding deeper into the mountains on increasingly narrow roads. The forest grew denser around them, massive pines creating a natural barrier from prying eyes. Finally, they reached a small parking area at the base of a hiking trail. A weathered sign announced, Mount Pilchuck Fire Lookout, 2.7 miles. End of the road, Elle said, cutting the engine. We have to hike from here, Dustin explained, shouldering his backpack. The lookout's at the top. Almost 3 miles uphill, Mike groaned. With all our stuff. Better than captured, Harry and Elle said in unison, then grinned at each other. The hike proved challenging, especially for Harry and Elle, whose childhoods had hardly prepared them for mountain climbing. But determination drove them forward, up rocky switchbacks and through dense forest. Just think, Dustin panted as they climbed, 2 days ago you were both locked up by psychopaths, and now you're free in the mountains of Washington. Harry laughed breathlessly. When you put it that way, a difficult hike seems like a small price. Elle nodded in agreement, reaching to help Harry over a particularly steep section. Their hands touched, and a brief surge of energy passed between them, giving them both a second wind. By late afternoon, they crested the final ridge and the fire lookout came into view, a small wooden structure perched on stilts at the summit, offering 360-degree views of the surrounding wilderness. Told you it was perfect, Dustin said proudly. The lookout had clearly been abandoned for some time. Dust covered the sparse furnishings, a table, chairs, and a small cot. But the structure was sound, the roof intact, and most importantly, it was isolated. Home sweet home, Mike said, dropping his pack on the floor. At least for now. We should secure the area, Harry suggested, surprising himself with his assertiveness. Elle nodded approvingly. Perimeter check. While Mike and Dustin cleaned the interior, Harry and Elle circled the lookout, instinctively working as a team to assess potential threats and escape routes. Feel safer up high, Elle commented, gazing across the vast expanse of forest stretching to the horizon. Can see them coming. Harry nodded, then pointed to a small clearing about 100 yards below their position. That would be a good place to practice. Our powers, I mean. Elle smiled. Good idea. By the time they returned inside, Mike and Dustin had transformed the space. They'd swept out the dust, arranged their supplies, and even found an old oil lamp that provided warm light as the sun began to set. Not bad, Harry remarked, genuinely impressed. Rather brilliant, actually. Wait till you see what else we found, Dustin said excitedly, pulling something from a cabinet. Emergency radio. Battery powered. He set it on the table and turned it on. Static crackled, then cleared as he tuned the dial. Continuing the search for 2 missing children believed to have been abducted from Hawkins, Indiana, a news announcer's voice reported. Jane Hopper, age 13, and Harry Potter, age 8, were last seen. Dustin quickly changed the station. Well, we're officially famous, Mike said grimly. At least they still think we were kidnapped, Harry pointed out. They're not saying anything about, what we can do. Yet, Dustin added ominously. As darkness fell, they huddled around the lamp, sharing the food they'd purchased in town. For Harry, even this simple meal of sandwiches and chips felt like a feast, food eaten without fear, in the company of friends who actually wanted him there. So what's the long-term plan? Mike asked, bringing them back to reality. We can't hide on this mountain forever. We need to understand who's after us and why, Harry said. Both the lab people and the wizards. And how to fight them if needed, Elle added. Which brings us back to practicing your powers, Dustin said eagerly. What exactly can you two do together? That teleporting thing was insane. Harry and Elle exchanged glances. Not sure, Elle admitted. Different each time. We should find out, Harry suggested. Properly test it. First thing tomorrow, Mike agreed. For now, we should sleep. We'll need to take watches, 2 hours each. I'll take first watch, Harry volunteered. I'll join you, Elle added. After setting up sleeping arrangements, the cot for Elle, sleeping bags for the boys, Mike and Dustin quickly fell asleep, exhausted from the day's adventures. Harry and Elle sat by the large windows, gazing out at the star-filled sky. The mountain air was crystal clear, revealing more stars than Harry had ever seen. It's beautiful, he whispered. Elle nodded in agreement. After a comfortable silence, she asked, Miss England? Harry considered this. Not really. There wasn't much there for me. The Dursleys made sure of that. He paused. Do you miss your home? With Hopper? Yes, Elle admitted. Hopper is good. But. She searched for the words. Not free. Keeps me hidden. Safe, but. She gestured at the vast wilderness around them. Not this. Harry understood completely. Safety at the cost of freedom was something he knew intimately. What do you think they want with us? He asked. The lab people. Elle's expression darkened. Papa wants weapons. Used me to spy. To hurt. Wants you for same. And the wizards? Elle shrugged. Different. Want you back. Special to them. Because I survived when my parents didn't, Harry mused. The boy who lived, like Dustin said. More than that, Elle insisted. Connection goes both ways. I see things too. Through you. What kind of things? A school. Big castle. Children with wands. Learning magic. Harry's eyes widened. You've seen a magic school? In my head. Elle nodded. Not memories. Possibilities. Future, maybe. You think that's where I'm supposed to go? A school for magic? When older, Elle confirmed. 11 years old. Harry did the math. That's still over 2 years away. Yes. So what do we do until then? Elle smiled slightly. Practice. Morning brought clear skies and renewed determination. After a breakfast of granola bars and water, they made their way to the clearing Harry had identified. Okay, magical wonder twins, Dustin said, clapping his hands together. Show us what you've got. Harry and Elle stood facing each other in the center of the clearing, uncertain how to begin. Maybe start with something small. Mike suggested. Like what you did with the glasses. Harry nodded, removing his now-repaired glasses and placing them on a nearby stump. Break them, he told Elle. Elle raised an eyebrow but complied, focusing briefly. The glasses crumpled as if crushed by an invisible hand. Harry took a deep breath, concentrating on the feeling he'd experienced when they'd repaired them before, that rush of energy, the certainty that reality should bend to his will. But without Elle's direct connection, he struggled to channel the power. I can't, he admitted after several frustrating attempts. It's like. I can feel it inside me, but I can't make it do what I want. Together, Elle suggested, holding out her hand. The moment their fingers touched, the now familiar surge of energy flowed between them. Harry gasped as his awareness expanded, feeling the world around him in ways he never had before. The glasses lifted from the stump, hovering between them. Now focus, Elle instructed. Want them fixed. Harry concentrated, directing the wild energy swirling through him. The crushed frames began to straighten, the bent metal flowing like liquid before hardening again in its proper shape. It's working. Dustin exclaimed. But Harry wasn't satisfied with just repairing them. As the glasses hovered before him, he pushed further, channeling more energy. The frames began to change color, shifting from black to a deep emerald green that matched his eyes. "Whoa," Mike breathed. "Don't stop," Elle encouraged, her nose beginning to bleed slightly from the effort. Harry focused harder, imagining the glasses becoming more than they were, stronger, better. The lenses shimmered, transforming from simple glass to something clearer, sharper. When the glasses finally floated back to Harry's hands, they were completely transformed, stylish, perfectly fitted, with lenses that somehow adjusted to his exact prescription. That was incredible. Dustin enthused as Harry put them on. "I can see perfectly," Harry marveled. "Better than before." "But you needed Elle to do it," Mike pointed out. "Can you use magic on your own?" Harry frowned, considering this. I think Elle helps me focus. Channel it. But the power feels like it's mine." "Like training wheels," Dustin suggested. "You need the support now, but eventually you could do it solo." "Try something else," Mike encouraged. "Something new." Over the next several hours, Harry and Elle experimented with their combined abilities. They discovered that while Elle's powers were primarily telekinetic and mental, Harry's were more transformative, changing the nature of objects rather than just moving them. Together, they could levitate multiple objects simultaneously with precise control, create small force fields that deflected thrown stones, temporarily alter the properties of materials, making wood flexible as rubber, or rocks light as foam, enhance each other's natural senses, particularly vision and hearing, create brief flashes of light or small controlled fires. The more they practiced, the more natural it felt. Each success built Harry's confidence, awakening abilities that had lain dormant under years of Dursley suppression. "It's like I'm remembering how to do things I never learned," he told the others during a break. "Like the knowledge was always there, just waiting." "Innate," Elle nodded. "Born with it." By afternoon, exhaustion began to set in. Elle's nosebleeds became more frequent, and Harry developed a persistent headache centered around his scar. "That's enough for today," Mike decided firmly. "You both need rest." Back at the lookout, they listened to the radio for news, relieved to hear nothing about unusual sightings in Washington. Harry dozed on his sleeping bag while the others played cards, the exertion of the day's practice catching up to him. In his dreams, Harry found himself walking down a long, stone corridor lit by floating candles. Ahead, a tall, thin man with a silver beard waited by a massive wooden door. "Harry Potter," the man said, blue eyes twinkling behind half-moon spectacles. "At last we meet." "Who are you?" Harry asked. "A friend," the man replied. "Or at least, I hope to be. My name is Albus Dumbledore." "You're one of them," Harry realized. "A wizard." Dumbledore nodded. "As are you, Harry. A wizard born to wizard parents, James and Lily Potter." "You knew my parents?" "Very well indeed. They were exceptional people. As, I suspect, are you. What do you want from me?" Harry asked warily. "To help you understand who you are. The power you carry." Dumbledore's expression grew serious. "And to warn you." "About what?" "The one who gave you that scar. He was defeated that night, but his followers remain. They would see you harmed for what you represent." "And what's that?" "Hope," Dumbledore said simply. "You survived what no one should have been able to survive. You defeated the most powerful dark wizard of our age as an infant." "I didn't do anything," Harry protested. "It was my mother. She sacrificed herself." Dumbledore smiled sadly. "Yes, her love protected you. But there was more to it than that. There is a reason he sought to kill you specifically, Harry. A reason you must eventually understand." "Tell me now," Harry demanded. "In time. When you are ready." Dumbledore glanced over his shoulder, as if hearing something Harry couldn't. "We are running out of time. Your friend with the remarkable abilities, she has found you through means we wizards cannot comprehend. She has altered your path in ways I did not foresee. Harry said. She saved me. Yes, Dumbledore agreed. But in doing so, she has drawn attention from those who would exploit you both. The Muggle government agency that held her captive sees your combined potential as a weapon. How do you know about that? I have my sources, Dumbledore said cryptically. Listen carefully, Harry. I am coming to find you, not to harm you or your friend, but to protect you. The wards that kept you safe at your aunt's home have collapsed. You are vulnerable now. I'm not going back there, Harry said firmly. Never. I understand. But there are other protections I can offer. Other places you would be safe, and welcomed. Before Harry could respond, the dream corridor began to dissolve around them. We will meet soon, Harry Potter, Dumbledore's voice echoed as everything faded. Be careful who you trust. Harry woke with a gasp, sitting bolt upright. The others turned to him in alarm. What's wrong? Mike asked. I had a dream, Harry explained, breathing hard. But it wasn't just a dream. Someone called Dumbledore was talking to me. A wizard. He said he's coming to find us. Elle moved to his side immediately. What else? He knew about you, Elle. About the lab. He said the people who held you captive want to use us as weapons. Brenner, Elle whispered, fear flickering across her face. He also said something about wards at my aunt's house being collapsed, and me being vulnerable now. Harry frowned. He claimed he wants to help, not hurt us. Could be a trap, Dustin suggested. Maybe, Harry acknowledged. But it felt real. Like he was actually talking to me. Did he say when he's coming? Mike asked urgently. Soon. That's all. Elle's head suddenly snapped toward the window. Someone's here. They rushed to the lookout windows, scanning the surrounding forest. At first, Harry saw nothing. Then, movement caught his eye, a figure in a dark suit moving between trees, followed by another. Lab people, Elle confirmed, her body tensing. How did they find us? Mike hissed. The practice sessions, Dustin realized. All that power you two were throwing around, they must have tracked the energy signature. We need to leave, Mike urged. Now. They grabbed their backpacks, stuffing in supplies as quickly as possible. Elle kept watch, counting at least 4 agents approaching from different directions. Too many, she said grimly. Surrounding us. Harry joined her at the window, feeling the connection between them humming with increasing intensity as danger approached. We could try teleporting again, he suggested. Elle shook her head. 2 weeks still. Need more time. Then we fight, Harry decided, surprising even himself with his determination. Elle gave him an appraising look, then nodded. Together. You guys can't seriously be thinking of fighting government agents. Mike protested. Not fighting, Harry clarified. Escaping. But we might need to discourage them first. Elle smiled slightly at his choice of words. Discourage. Yes. She knelt, drawing a rough map of the area in the dust on the floor. 4 agents. Here, 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 and here. She marked their positions. Need to reach the trail. Then down to Jeep. I can create a distraction, Harry offered. Something flashy to draw them away from the trail. I can hold them back, Elle added. Mike and Dustin exchanged worried glances. What do we do? Dustin asked. Run when we tell you, Elle said simply. The plan formed quickly. Harry and Elle would go outside first, creating a diversion on the opposite side from the trail. When the agents moved to investigate, Mike and Dustin would make a break for the trail, with Harry and Elle covering their retreat before following. Ready? Elle asked, hand extended toward Harry. He took it, feeling the now familiar surge of power between them. Ready. They stepped onto the lookout small balcony, immediately spotting two agents converging from the west. There, one agent shouted into his radio. Two subjects on the balcony. Harry focused on the energy flowing through his connection with Elle, directing it toward a stand of trees away from the trail. The air between the trees began to shimmer, then burst into a brilliant display of golden light and crackling energy, like a contained lightning storm. "What the hell?" an agent exclaimed, momentarily distracted. Elle used the diversion to focus on the agents themselves, flinging one backward with a telekinetic push. The man flew 20 feet through the air, crashing into thick underbrush. "Now!" Harry called to Mike and Dustin, who burst from the lookout door and sprinted toward the trail. The remaining agents recovered quickly, pulling what looked like tranquilizer guns from their jackets. Harry felt a surge of panic, which translated instantly through his connection with Elle into a wave of power. The guns flew from the agent's hands, disassembling midair into scattered components. "Let's go!" Elle shouted, pulling Harry toward the trail where Mike and Dustin had already disappeared. They ran, the connection between them amplifying their speed and awareness. Harry could sense the agents regrouping behind them, calling for backup. He could feel Elle's determination matching his own as they navigated the rocky terrain with surprising agility. Halfway down the trail, they caught up to Mike and Dustin. "They're coming!" Dustin gasped, looking over his shoulder. "Keep going," Elle urged. A crack like a gunshot sounded from behind them. Harry turned to see something he hadn't expected. One of the agents had vanished, only to reappear further down the trail, blocking their path. He teleported. Mike exclaimed in disbelief. Not an agent, Harry realized with sudden clarity. A wizard. The man before them looked nothing like Dumbledore from Harry's dream. Younger, with a weathered face and wildly spinning artificial eye. He held a wand pointed directly at them. "Stand down," the man commanded in a gravelly voice. "We don't want to hurt you, Potter. Dumbledore sent me." "Prove it," Harry challenged, instinctively positioning himself in front of the others. Alastair Moody, the man introduced himself. "Order of the Phoenix. I fought alongside your parents against the Dark Lord." Before Harry could respond, Elle stepped forward, eyes narrowed in concentration. Moody suddenly found himself lifted inches off the ground, his wand arm frozen in place. "Elle, wait," Harry said. "He might be telling the truth." "No chances," Elle replied tersely. The sound of agents crashing through the underbrush grew closer behind them. "We don't have time for this," Dustin urged. Harry made a split-second decision. "If you're really here to help us, prove it. Help us get away from the government agents." Moody's magical eyes spun wildly, taking in the approaching threat. "Deal," he growled. With his free hand, he reached inside his coat, producing a small silver object. "Port key. Can transport us all to safety. But the girl needs to let me down first." Elle glanced at Harry questioningly. "It's okay," Harry assured her, though he was far from certain himself. "Let him help." Reluctantly, Elle released her telekinetic hold. Moody dropped to his feet, extending the silver object, a small spoon. "Everyone touch it. Quickly." "What about the jeep?" Mike asked. "Leave it." Moody barked. "This is more important." Hesitantly, they each reached out to touch the spoon. The moment the last finger made contact, Harry felt a horrible jerking sensation behind his navel. The world spun violently around them, colors blurring into streaks. When reality solidified again, they found themselves standing in a lavishly decorated drawing room. Oil lamps cast warm light over antique furniture, and a crackling fireplace dominated one wall. "Where are we?" Dustin asked, looking around in amazement. "Safe house," Moody replied, tucking the spoon back into his pocket. "Unplottable location." "Unplottable?" Mike repeated. Can't be found on any map. Magically hidden. Elle immediately moved to check the windows, her body tense and ready for threats. Harry joined her, the connection between them thrumming with shared caution. The American ministry knows we're here, Moody explained. But they've agreed to give Dumbledore time to speak with you before making any decisions. Ministry? Harry questioned. Of magic, Moody clarified. Every country has one. Governs wizard affairs, maintains the statute of secrecy. Where's Dumbledore? Harry asked, recalling his dream vividly. As if on cue, a soft pop sounded behind them. They turned to find an elderly wizard with a long silver beard and twinkling blue eyes, exactly as he had appeared in Harry's dream. Ah, Harry, Dumbledore smiled warmly. I see Alastor found you successfully. Harry stared, momentarily speechless. Elle immediately stepped between Harry and the newcomer, her posture protective. It's okay, Elle, Harry said softly. This is who I saw in my dream. Dumbledore. Dumbledore studied Elle with obvious fascination. And you must be the extraordinary young lady who has turned the wizarding world on its head. He bowed slightly. Albus Dumbledore, headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Elle didn't relax her stance. Why follow us? To ensure Harry's safety, Dumbledore replied simply. When the protective wards around his aunt's home collapsed, we knew something significant had occurred. Then to discover he had been transported across an ocean. He shook his head in amazement. Most remarkable. You sent Harry to live with those awful people, Mike accused. They locked him in a cupboard. Starved him. Dumbledore's expression grew somber. I had no idea his situation was so dire. The blood wards required he live with family, but I never intended for him to suffer. Blood wards? Harry asked. Protection based on your mother's sacrifice, Dumbledore explained. Her blood runs in your veins, and in her sister's, your Aunt Petunia. While you lived under their roof, certain dark forces could not touch you. But they hurt him, Elle stated flatly. Different danger. Dumbledore nodded gravely. Yes, I see that now. A terrible miscalculation on my part. What happens now? Harry asked. We can't go back to the Dursleys. And Elle can't go back to Hawkins, the lab people will find her. That is precisely what we must discuss, Dumbledore said, gesturing toward comfortable chairs arranged around the fireplace. Please, sit. I believe we have much to talk about. Cautiously, they moved to the sitting area. Elle positioned herself beside Harry, never taking her eyes off Dumbledore or Moody. Mike and Dustin sat nearby, equally wary despite the apparent hospitality. First, I must ask, Dumbledore began, but was interrupted by another pop as a stern-looking woman in emerald robes appeared. The Americans are demanding updates, Albus, she reported briskly. And there's another complication. Muggle government agents have arrived in Washington, claiming jurisdiction over the girl. Brenner, Elle whispered, fear flashing across her face. Harry instinctively took her hand, the connection between them strengthening with shared emotion. Professor McGonagall, may I introduce Harry Potter, his friend Elle, and their companions Mike and Dustin, Dumbledore said calmly. Children, this is Professor Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress of Hogwarts. McGonagall's severe expression softened slightly as she looked at Harry. You look just like your father. Except for the eyes. You have, my mother's eyes, Harry finished, somehow knowing this to be true though he had no conscious memory of his parents. Indeed, McGonagall said, surprised. How did you know? Harry tapped his scar. I've been, remembering things. Seeing things. Most interesting, Dumbledore mused. And I suspect your friend Elle has something to do with this awakening. Elle shrugged. Connection. Goes both ways. Which brings us to the heart of the matter, Dumbledore continued. The nature of your remarkable abilities, young lady, and how they interact with Harry's innate magic. She's telekinetic, Mike explained. She can move things with her mind. Find people in other places. But there's more, Dustin added. When she and Harry combine their powers, crazy things happen. Like teleporting across the country. Dumbledore and McGonagall exchanged significant glances. Not teleportation as we understand it, McGonagall noted. The magical signature was entirely different. Because it wasn't just magic, Dumbledore theorized. It was something else entirely, something between magic and Muggle science. Experiments, Elle said quietly. Lab made me. Harry felt a surge of protective anger. They hurt her. Treated her like a lab rat. And now they want you both, Moody growled from his position by the door. The American Muggle government has been pushing the boundaries of what they call psychic research for decades. Your friend here is proof they succeeded to some degree. What I find most fascinating, Dumbledore said gently, is how your abilities, Elle, seem to catalyze Harry's magic. And how his magic, in turn, amplifies your powers. A most extraordinary symbiosis. Can you protect them? Mike asked bluntly. From the lab people? Dumbledore steepled his fingers thoughtfully. Wizarding law is complex regarding Muggle affairs. We are bound by the statute of secrecy, which limits our intervention in Muggle governments. So that's a no, Dustin translated. Not necessarily, Dumbledore corrected. Harry, as a wizard, falls under our protection. And if Elle were to be classified as having magical abilities, which, given your combined feats, could be argued, then perhaps she too could receive our protection. You want to take them away, Mike realized, his voice rising. Back to England. It would be the safest option, McGonagall confirmed. Hogwarts is one of the most secure locations in the wizarding world. But I'm not old enough for Hogwarts, Harry pointed out. You said in the dream, 11 years old. Technically, yes, Dumbledore acknowledged. But exceptions can be made in extraordinary circumstances. What about Elle's friends? Harry asked. What about Hopper? They'd never know what happened to her. Elle's grip on his hand tightened gratefully. And what about us? Dustin demanded. We just go back to Hawkins and pretend none of this happened. While government goons interrogate us about where they went. A fair point, Dumbledore conceded. Your safety must also be considered. Before anyone could respond further, the entire room shuddered suddenly. Lamps flickered, and a strange electronic whine filled the air. What's happening? McGonagall asked sharply. Moody rushed to the window, his magical eye spinning frantically. Detection equipment. Advanced Muggle technology. They're trying to break through the magical barriers. Impossible, McGonagall declared. No Muggle technology can penetrate an unplottable location. Unless they're tracking something inside, Moody growled, turning to stare at Elle and Harry. Elle's eyes widened in realization. The connection. They're following it. We have to leave, Harry said urgently. Anywhere we go, they'll follow us. Dumbledore raised a hand, his expression grave but controlled. Not necessarily. There may be a way to mask your connection temporarily, enough to relocate you somewhere truly secure. How? Dustin asked. A combination of magical containment and Muggle countermeasures, Dumbledore explained, already moving toward a cabinet from which he withdrew various items. But we must work quickly. Another tremor shook the house, stronger this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. They're getting closer, Moody warned. Elle suddenly doubled over, clutching her head in pain. They're using amplifier, she gasped. Machine. Makes me weaker. Harry felt it too, a pressure against their connection, like someone trying to pry open a door in his mind. Brenner, Elle whispered. He's here. Dumbledore worked swiftly, arranging strange silver instruments and vials of colored potions on the table. Harry, Elle, come here quickly. This won't block your connection entirely, but it should mask its energy signature. They approached the table cautiously. Dumbledore handed each of them a small crystal vial containing swirling blue liquid. Drink this, he instructed. It will temporarily dampen magical emanations. Harry hesitated, looking at Elle. After a moment's silent communication, they both drank the potion simultaneously. A cold sensation spread through Harry's body, like ice flowing through his veins. The connection between them dimmed but didn't vanish, more like a bright light covered with a thin cloth. Now this, Dumbledore continued, producing two small silver amulets inscribed with strange symbols. Wear these. They'll create interference in any tracking equipment. As they put on the amulets, the house shook again, more violently. A window cracked. We need to move, McGonagall urged. The protections are failing. Where can we go? Mike asked desperately. If they can track them anywhere. Not anywhere, Dumbledore corrected. There is one place even more secure than Hogwarts. A place hidden by the deepest, oldest magic. And where's that? Dustin demanded. Dumbledore's eyes twinkled despite the gravity of the situation. The Department of Mysteries, in the heart of the Ministry of Magic itself. Moody shook his head. The minister will never allow it, Albus. Cornelius won't have much choice once we're already there, Dumbledore replied mildly. Better to ask forgiveness than permission in this case. A tremendous crash sounded from outside, followed by voices shouting commands. Time's up, Moody growled. Dumbledore produced a length of rope from his robes. Everyone hold on. This portkey will take us directly to the ministry. What about our families? Mike asked desperately. Our parents don't know where we are. I give you my word they will be informed that you are safe, Dumbledore assured him. Now quickly. They all grabbed the rope, Elle clinging tightly to Harry's free hand despite the dampened connection between them. Just as the front door burst open, revealing men in dark suits with strange electronic equipment, the portkey activated. Harry felt the now familiar hook behind his navel, and they spun away into nothingness. They landed in a dimly lit circular room with multiple identical black doors. Harry felt Elle stumble beside him and quickly steadied her, the potions and amulets making them both slightly disoriented. Welcome to the Department of Mysteries, Dumbledore announced quietly. Few wizards ever see the inside of these chambers. Where exactly are we? Harry asked, looking around at the strange room. Deep beneath London, McGonagall explained, straightening her robes. In the most secure section of the Ministry of Magic. Will the lab people find us here? Elle asked, her voice small but determined. Extremely unlikely, Dumbledore assured her. The magic protecting this place has accumulated over centuries. And the potions you took should mask your energy signature long enough for more permanent solutions to be arranged. What kind of permanent solutions? Mike asked suspiciously. Before Dumbledore could answer, one of the black doors opened. A thin wizard in dark robes entered, his face initially shocked at the sight of so many unexpected visitors. Headmaster Dumbledore. This area is restricted. How did you? Emergency circumstances, Rookwood, Dumbledore interrupted smoothly. I must speak with Croaker immediately. The wizard named Rookwood seemed about to protest, then noticed Harry, specifically, the lightning scar on his forehead. Is that? Yes, Dumbledore confirmed. And his safety, along with his friends, depends on the department's cooperation. Rookwood hesitated only briefly before nodding. Follow me. They were led through a maze of strange chambers, one containing what looked like planets floating in midair, another filled with clocks of every description, a third with a tank of floating brains that made them all shudder. Finally, they reached a small conference room where a wizened old wizard sat reviewing scrolls of parchment. Croaker, Dumbledore greeted him. Thank you for seeing us on such short notice. The old wizard looked up, his piercing gaze immediately settling on Harry and Elle. So, he said in a surprisingly strong voice, "this is the source of the dimensional disruption our instruments detected." Fascinating. "My friends and I need sanctuary," Harry stated directly, finding confidence despite the intimidating surroundings. "People are hunting us, both wizards and Muggles. American government agents," Dustin added helpfully. "Super shady lab guys who experiment on kids." Croaker's bushy eyebrows rose. "And you brought this situation to my department, Albus?" "The Department of Mysteries studies the fundamental nature of magic," Dumbledore replied calmly. "What these children have discovered, quite accidentally, about the interaction between different types of power is precisely your area of expertise." Croaker studied Elle with undisguised interest. "You're the non-magical one, yet you demonstrate abilities beyond anything we've documented." "How?" Elle tensed, clearly uncomfortable with the scrutiny. Harry squeezed her hand reassuringly. "She was born with powers," he explained, protective instinct overriding his own uncertainty. "People hurt her to make them stronger. But she escaped." "And found you," Croaker noted. "Most interesting." He turned to Dumbledore. "You realize the minister will have kittens when he learns you've brought unauthorized children, including Muggles, into the department?" "I'm counting on your discretion, old friend," Dumbledore smiled. "At least until we can determine the best way to protect them." Croaker stroked his beard thoughtfully. "The American Magical Congress has already filed formal complaints about unregistered magical transportation and interference with Muggle affairs. And if Muggle government agencies are indeed involved. The situation is complex," McGonagall acknowledged. "But surely the safety of children must take priority over politics. Plus, think of what you could learn," Moody added shrewdly. "Their combined abilities created a form of transportation unlike anything in wizarding history. New magic, Croaker. Uncharted territory." That seemed to tip the scales. Croaker's eyes gleamed with the excitement of discovery. "Very well," he decided. "They may stay, temporarily, while we assess the situation. But they'll need to be evaluated. Studied." Elle immediately stiffened. "No labs. No tests." "Not like that," Dumbledore assured her quickly. "Nothing invasive or harmful. Simply observations of your combined abilities in a controlled, safe environment." "And what about our parents?" Mike demanded. "They must be going crazy with worry by now." "A legitimate concern," Dumbledore acknowledged. "Perhaps we can arrange for messages to be delivered, explaining that you're safe without revealing your exact whereabouts." "My dad's the chief of police," Mike pointed out. "He's not going to stop looking just because of a mysterious message saying, 'Don't worry.'" "And Hopper will tear the country apart looking for Elle," Dustin added. Dumbledore exchanged glances with McGonagall. "Perhaps limited contact could be arranged. Through secure magical means." Harry felt Elle's grip tighten on his hand. Through their dampened but still present connection, he sensed her conflicted emotions, relief at being safe, fear of being studied again, and deep concern for Hopper. "We'll cooperate," Harry decided, speaking for both of them. "Help you understand our abilities. But only if you protect all of us, help us contact our families, and promise no one gets treated like a lab experiment." Croaker raised an eyebrow, apparently surprised at being negotiated with by an 8-year-old. "Reasonable terms," he conceded. "Though I cannot promise how long my department can shield you from official inquiries." "One step at a time," Dumbledore suggested. "For now, let's get our young friends settled and properly fed. I imagine they've had quite enough excitement for one day." The living quarters provided by the Department of Mysteries were surprisingly comfortable, a suite of rooms hidden behind one of the many black doors in the circular chamber. Bedrooms branched off from a central living area furnished with plush sofas, a dining table that magically produced food when requested, and bookshelves filled with curious volumes. "Well, this beats camping in the woods," Dustin remarked, testing a sofa's bounciness. Mike remained tense, standing by one of the windowless walls. It's still basically a prison. A nice one, but we're trapped underground with no way to contact home. Dumbledore promised we'd be able to send messages soon, Harry reminded him. And you believe him? The same guy who left you with abusive relatives for 7 years. Harry frowned. That's fair. But what choice do we have right now? Elle, who had been silently exploring their new surroundings, returned to the group. Better than lab. Better than Dursleys. Her simple assessment cut through the debate. Yeah, but for how long? Mike persisted. These ministry people clearly want to study you guys just like Brenner did, just in a fancier way with wands instead of machines. We won't let that happen, Harry said with surprising firmness. We're stronger together now. We can protect each other. As if to demonstrate, he held out his hand to Elle. She took it, and despite the dampening effect of Dumbledore's potions, a soft golden glow emanated from their joined fingers. See? Even with whatever they gave us to hide our connection, we can still use our powers. So what's the plan? Dustin asked. Play along until we figure out who we can trust. Harry nodded. And learn everything we can in the meantime. About magic, about Elle's abilities, about why everyone wants us so badly. A soft knock interrupted their conversation. The door opened to reveal Professor McGonagall, carrying a stack of clothing. I thought you might appreciate some fresh attire, she explained, placing the bundle on a nearby table. The house elves have provided options that should fit each of you. House elves? Harry questioned. Magical creatures that serve wizard households and institutions, McGonagall explained. Hogwarts employs many of them. Like servants? Mike asked disapprovingly. McGonagall's lips thinned. A complex relationship with a long history. Perhaps a discussion for another time. She turned to Elle, who had been watching her warily. Young lady, I wanted to assure you personally that despite the department's scientific interest, no one will force you to undergo any testing against your will. Dumbledore has been quite insistent on that point. Elle nodded slightly, her expression guarded but less hostile. Has there been any word about the lab people? Harry asked. Did they follow us here? Thankfully, no, McGonagall replied. The American Magical Congress reports that Muggle government agents lost their tracking signal when you left Washington. They're still searching that area, unaware you've left the country. And the Dursleys? Harry couldn't help asking. Do they know I'm gone? McGonagall's expression softened slightly. They reported you missing, yes. Though I understand from our observer that your aunt seemed more concerned about questioning from authorities than your actual whereabouts. Harry nodded, unsurprised. They never wanted me anyway. Be that as it may, McGonagall continued briskly, your legal situation requires attention. As a magical orphan with living Muggle relatives who have proven unsuitable, alternative guardianship arrangements will need to be considered. Can't I just stay with Elle and Hopper? Harry asked hopefully. McGonagall's expression grew complicated. That would present numerous legal and practical challenges. Cross-continental guardianship, Muggle jurisdiction over a wizard child, international magical cooperation. But not impossible. Harry pressed. Few things are truly impossible, Mr. Potter, McGonagall replied carefully. Merely varying degrees of difficult. After McGonagall departed, they explored their temporary home more thoroughly. The bedrooms adjusted to their occupants' preferences, Harry's developing a warm, cozy atmosphere with a red and gold color scheme, while Elle's featured a nest-like arrangement of pillows and soft blankets reminiscent of the fort Mike had built for her when they first met. Food appeared on the dining table at regular intervals, hearty English fare that Harry found delicious after years of Dursley leftovers. Elle approached each new dish cautiously, but her eyes widened with delight at the discovery of Eggos among the breakfast options. They have Eggos in England? She asked, surprised. The house elves probably created them specially after reading your thoughts or something, Dustin theorized, heaping his own plate with sausages. Magic is convenient that way. As evening approached, though they could only tell by magical clocks since they were underground, Croaker returned with two younger wizards. "These are Unspeakables Bode and Podmore," he introduced. "They'll be observing your abilities, with your permission, of course." Harry and Elle exchanged glances, their silent communication growing stronger even through the dampening effects. "Just watching," Elle clarified. "No tests. Simple demonstrations only," Croaker assured her. "We've prepared a special chamber that can safely contain magical energies while our instruments record their properties." Mike stepped forward protectively. "We're coming too." "Of course," Croaker agreed easily. Emotional connections appear to play a role in their combined abilities. "Your presence may prove valuable to our understanding." The testing chamber turned out to be a large, circular room with mirrored walls and a domed ceiling that shifted colors like an aurora borealis. Comfortable chairs were arranged around the perimeter for observers, while the center remained open. "This room was designed to study wild magic," Croaker explained. "Unpredictable magical events that don't follow conventional rules. It can absorb excess energy without damage to the surroundings." Harry and Elle stood uncertainly in the center of the room, acutely aware of being watched by the wizards and their friends. "What do you want us to do?" Harry asked. "Start with something simple," Croaker suggested. "Something you've done before and feel comfortable with." Elle looked at Harry. "Glasses?" Harry nodded, removing his glasses and placing them on the floor. Elle focused briefly, crushing them telekinetically as she had during their practice session. "Now together," Harry said, taking her hand. The familiar surge of energy flowed between them, though muted by the potions they'd taken. The glasses rose into the air, repairing themselves and once again changing color, this time to a deep blue. "Fascinating," Bode murmured, making notes on a floating parchment. "The girl uses pure telekinesis, but when connected with Potter, the effect becomes true transfiguration." "Try something new," Podmore encouraged. "Something you haven't attempted before." Harry thought for a moment, then whispered to Elle. She nodded, and they focused together on the center of the room. Slowly, tiny points of light began to appear in the air between them, swirling like fireflies. The lights multiplied, forming patterns and shapes, stars, galaxies, a miniature cosmos floating in the chamber. "Extraordinary," Croaker breathed. "They're creating sustained magical illumination with physical properties. Look how they interact with the air currents." The light show grew more complex, the tiny stars forming constellations Harry had seen in astronomy books at school. Some grew larger, changing colors, becoming miniature nebulae and pulsars. "It's beautiful," Mike said softly from his observation chair. The compliment boosted their confidence. Harry and Elle pushed further, directing the lights to form a slowly rotating model of the solar system, with planets orbiting a golden sun. Suddenly, Harry felt a sharp pain in his scar. The miniature planets wobbled as his concentration faltered. "Harry?" Elle questioned, feeling the disruption through their connection. "My scar," he whispered. "It hurts." The pain intensified unexpectedly, a burning sensation that made him gasp. The light display dissolved as Harry pressed his hand to his forehead. "Something's wrong," he managed through clenched teeth. Elle immediately wrapped her arm around him supportively. The moment she touched his scar, both children cried out in pain. The lights in the chamber flickered wildly. The mirrored walls began to vibrate. "What's happening?" McGonagall demanded, rushing forward from where she'd been observing by the door. Harry couldn't answer. Images flashed through his mind, a dark chamber, a hooded figure, a glowing stone. Elle saw them too, their connection pulling her into his vision. "Something, coming through," she gasped. "The scar, it's a door." "Shut it down," Croaker commanded his colleagues. "Dampen all magical energies in the room." The Unspeakables drew their wands, casting complex spells that created a network of glowing blue lines around Harry and Elle. The pain gradually subsided, the visions fading. Harry slumped against Elle, breathing heavily. What was that? Your scar, Croaker said gravely, approaching cautiously. It reacted to the magical field you two were generating. Most concerning. Is Harry okay? Mike demanded, rushing to their side with Dustin. I think so, Harry said shakily. It's happened before, the scar hurting. But never like that. And the visions? Croaker pressed. Harry and Elle exchanged glances. A dark place, Harry described. Someone in a hood. A red stone glowing. McGonagall's sharp intake of breath drew their attention. You recognize it? Croaker asked her. Merely speculation, she replied tightly. But Albus should be informed immediately. Harry felt Elle's arm tighten around him protectively. Through their connection, he sensed her fear, not of the vision itself, but of what it might mean for them. More tests. More scrutiny. More danger. I think that's enough for today, McGonagall declared firmly. These children need rest. Surprisingly, Croaker didn't argue. Yes, quite right. We've gathered sufficient preliminary data. He studied Harry with newfound intensity. Most unexpected developments. Most unexpected indeed. Back in their quarters, Harry collapsed onto a sofa, still shaken. Elle sat beside him, never breaking physical contact, as if afraid he might disappear. That was scary, Dustin commented, pacing nervously. Your scar actually glowed, Harry. Like, bright red. It felt like something trying to get in, Harry explained. Or get out. I'm not sure. The connection, Elle said quietly. Made it stronger. Woke it up. Woke what up? Mike asked, his concern evident. Elle struggled for words. Something, left behind. In the scar. A heavy silence fell over the group as they considered the implications. Do you think it has something to do with the wizard who killed your parents? Dustin finally asked. Maybe, Harry admitted. Dumbledore said in my dream that I defeated the most powerful dark wizard of our age. What if something of him stayed with me? Elle nodded solemnly. Not gone. Sleeping. The door opened, interrupting their discussion as Dumbledore entered, followed by McGonagall. Harry, Dumbledore said gently, I understand you experienced something unusual during your demonstration. Harry nodded. My scar hurt. We saw visions. May I? Dumbledore asked, gesturing toward Harry's forehead. Harry hesitated, then nodded. Dumbledore approached, drawing his wand. Elle tensed beside him but didn't interfere as the headmaster murmured incantations, his wand tip glowing softly as it hovered near the lightning scar. Just as I feared, Dumbledore sighed, lowering his wand. The combined magical energy you and Elle generated activated something within the scar, a connection that should have remained dormant for many years yet. Connection to what? Harry asked, though part of him dreaded the answer. To whom, I believe, is the question, Dumbledore corrected gently. And the answer is complex and troubling. Perhaps a discussion better left for when you're older. No, Harry interrupted firmly. No more secrets. If something's wrong with me, I need to know. Dumbledore studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. Very well. But understand that what I'm about to tell you must remain between those in this room. The knowledge could be dangerous if it spread further. We won't tell anyone, Mike promised, speaking for the group. Dumbledore sat in an armchair opposite the children. The wizard who killed your parents, Harry, was named Voldemort. He was the most powerful dark wizard of the century, perhaps ever. The night he attacked your family, something unprecedented occurred when his killing curse rebounded from you. It destroyed him, Harry said. We saw that in the memory. His body was destroyed, Dumbledore corrected. But Voldemort had taken certain precautions against death. He was not killed completely. Elle's eyes widened. still alive. In a manner of speaking. Less than a ghost, less than the meanest spirit, but alive. And your scar, Harry, represents a connection to him, formed the night his curse failed. Harry felt sick. You're saying I have some kind of link to the wizard who murdered my parents? A link that has remained largely dormant until now, Dumbledore confirmed. Your friend L's unique abilities, combined with your own awakening magic, seem to have strengthened this connection prematurely. Is it dangerous? Mike asked bluntly. Potentially, Dumbledore admitted. Though I believe we can take precautions to manage it. L's expression hardened with determination. Can remove it? Cut it out. Dumbledore's expression grew troubled. I'm afraid it's not so simple. The connection is deeply embedded in Harry's being. Attempting to remove it could cause tremendous harm. So I'm stuck with it? Harry asked, his voice small. For now, Dumbledore said gently. But understanding a problem is the first step toward solving it. And you have something Voldemort never anticipated, friends who care for you deeply, and a most unique ally in L. L squeezed Harry's hand. Protect you. Promise. And that, I believe, makes all the difference, Dumbledore said with a small smile. Now, I have good news. We've arranged for you to send messages to your families, letting them know you're safe. Really? Dustin perked up. How? Enchanted parchment, McGonagall explained, producing several sheets of golden paper. Whatever you write will appear on a matching sheet delivered to your parents. They can write back, and their words will appear on your copy. What do we tell them? Mike wondered. We can't exactly say, hey Mom, I'm hanging out at the Wizard Ministry in London with Harry Potter. The truth, but perhaps not all details, Dumbledore suggested. That you're safe, in protection, and will explain everything when you can. The boys eagerly took the parchment, though Elle looked uncertain. For Hopper, she asked. McGonagall nodded, offering her a sheet. Chief Hopper has been quite persistent in his search for you. This should ease his mind considerably. Elle accepted the parchment carefully, as if it might break. Thank you. There's one more matter to discuss, Dumbledore continued. The American Department of Energy continues to search for you both. Dr. Brenner has apparently convinced his superiors that recapturing Elle and studying Harry is a matter of national security. Harry felt a surge of anger. They can't have her. Not ever again. A sentiment I share, Dumbledore assured him. However, their resources are considerable. The magical protections currently shielding you are effective but not permanent solutions. So what do we do? Harry asked. We've been exploring options, McGonagall said. Magical guardianship for you both would provide certain legal protections under wizarding law. Both? Elle questioned. But I'm not a wizard. Your abilities, while different in origin, qualify as magical under the broader definitions used in international magical law, Dumbledore explained. A convenient loophole that could offer you protection from Muggle government agencies. Who would be our guardian? Harry asked cautiously. Several possibilities exist, Dumbledore replied. Magical families who would welcome you, or perhaps Hopper, Elle said firmly. Want Hopper? Dumbledore nodded thoughtfully. An interesting possibility. Chief Hopper already has a relationship with Elle, and from what we've learned, he's gone to extraordinary lengths to protect her. But he's a Muggle, McGonagall pointed out. The Ministry would never, there are precedents, Dumbledore interrupted mildly. Muggle parents of magical children receive certain accommodations. And in cases involving children with special magical circumstances, exceptions have been made. Hope flickered in Elle's eyes. Really? It would be complex, Dumbledore cautioned. Chief Hopper would need to be informed about the wizarding world, a significant breach of the Statute of Secrecy. And arrangements would need to be made for Harry's eventual education at Hogwarts. But it's possible. Harry pressed. Worth exploring, Dumbledore confirmed. Though the Minister for Magic will certainly have objections. Elle looked down at the enchanted parchment in her hands. After a moment's thought, she began to write in her simple, careful handwriting, Hopper. Safe with Harry. Friends. Good people helping us. Miss you. Want to come home. With Harry. Need you. The words shimmered on the page before sinking into the parchment, presumably appearing on Hopper's matching sheet thousands of miles away. Now we wait, Dustin said, having finished his own message home. They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, Elle's parchment glowed, and new words appeared in a rough, hurried scrawl. Elle, thank God you're alive. Been searching everywhere. Who has you? Where are you? Are you really safe? How is this paper working? I'm coming to get you, just tell me where. Hopper, Elle smiled, the first genuine smile they'd seen since arriving at the ministry. She quickly wrote back, magic people. Harry is magic. In England. Safe from bad men. Can you come? The response was immediate, magic. England. Kid, this better not be a joke. How the hell did you get to England? Stay where you are. I'm going to find you. Hopper, McGonagall read over Elle's shoulder and sighed. Perhaps we should arrange more direct communication. This could take some time to explain via enchanted paper. Can Hopper come here? Harry asked. Bringing a muggle to the Ministry of Magic would require extraordinary permissions, McGonagall began doubtfully. I believe extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary measures, Dumbledore interrupted. I'll speak with Cornelius personally. Elle looked up at Dumbledore, hope and wariness warring in her expression. Hopper can take us home. Both of us. That's our goal, Dumbledore assured her. Though there are many details to arrange, not least of which is ensuring Harry's continued protection from those who might wish him harm in the wizarding world. Like Voldemort, Harry said quietly. And his followers, Dumbledore confirmed. But let's take one challenge at a time, shall we? That night, after the others had gone to bed, Harry lay awake, thinking about everything that had happened. In just 3 days, his entire life had transformed. From prisoner of the Dursleys to fugitive in America to protected guest in a secret magical facility, it was almost too much to process. A soft knock at his bedroom door interrupted his thoughts. He sat up to find Elle standing in the doorway, looking troubled. Can't sleep, he asked. She shook her head, entering hesitantly. Bad dreams. About the lab? About you, she corrected, sitting on the edge of his bed. The thing in your scar. Trying to reach you. Harry touched his forehead reflexively. I felt it too. It's still there, waiting. Dangerous, Elle stated simply. Dumbledore will help us figure it out, Harry tried to reassure her, though his own doubts lingered. Elle looked unconvinced. Not telling everything. Keeping secrets. You picked up on that too? Harry asked, impressed by her perception. She nodded. Grown-ups always keep secrets. Think kids can't handle truth. But we've handled everything so far, Harry pointed out. Better than most grown-ups would. Together, Elle agreed. Stronger together. Harry felt the connection between them pulse gently, Dumbledore's dampening potion wearing off as the hours passed. The familiar warmth of their shared energy was comforting. Do you really think Hopper could take care of both of us? He asked quietly. Would he even want to? Yes, Elle said with absolute certainty. Hopper is good. Grumpy but good. Keeps promises. Unlike Dumbledore, Harry noted. He promised I'd be safe with the Dursleys. Different, Elle insisted. Hopper protects with love. Not just magic. Harry considered this. He had no real concept of what it would be like to live with an adult who genuinely cared for him, who put his well-being first. What's he like? he asked. Hopper. Elle smiled slightly. Big. Strong. Looks mean but isn't. Teaches me words. Makes rules but, fair rules. Safe rules. She paused, considering. Makes egos. Harry laughed softly. He sounds brilliant. He is, Elle agreed. She hesitated, then added, he would be good dad. For both of us. The word dad sent a complicated rush of emotions through Harry. He had vague impressions of his own father from the memories in his scar, a tall man with messy hair like his own, laughing, performing magic tricks to entertain a baby Harry. But those weren't really his memories. They were impressions, echoes. I'd like that, he finally said. To have a dad. Elle nodded, understanding completely. After a moment, she stood to return to her own room. Elle. Harry called softly. Thanks. For finding me. For everything. Friends, she reminded him with a small smile. Help friends. As she left, Harry felt more certain than ever that whatever challenges lay ahead, magical or mundane, facing them with Elle and their friends made him stronger than he'd ever been alone. The next morning brought unexpected news. Dumbledore arrived early, his expression both concerned and resolute. There have been developments, he announced to the gathered children. Dr. Brenner has somehow learned you've left America. He's applied diplomatic pressure through non-magical channels, claiming Elle is a missing American citizen unlawfully removed from the country. How could he know we're in England? Mike asked anxiously. Unknown, Dumbledore replied. Though I suspect their tracking methods are more sophisticated than we initially believed. He won't stop, Elle said quietly. Never stops. Furthermore, Dumbledore continued, Minister Fudge is deeply uncomfortable with your presence at the ministry. The American Magical Congress is demanding explanations, and certain elements within our own ministry have begun asking pointed questions about Harry's whereabouts. So what happens now? Dustin asked. We accelerate our plans, Dumbledore stated. I've arranged for Chief Hopper to be brought to London today. A wizarding delegation will meet him and explain the situation. Elle's eyes widened. Today. Circumstances have forced our hand, Dumbledore explained. The sooner we establish legal guardianship and protections for you both, the better. But Hopper doesn't know anything about magic, Mike pointed out. A situation that will be remedied shortly, Dumbledore assured him. If all goes well, we can begin discussing more permanent arrangements for your safety. Harry felt a mix of excitement and anxiety at the prospect of meeting Hopper, the man who might become his guardian. What if Hopper didn't want him? What if he only cared about getting Elle back? Elle sensed his concerns through their connection and squeezed his hand reassuringly. Hopper will like you, she said simply. Promise. Hours later, they gathered in a more comfortable meeting room within the ministry. Harry fidgeted nervously, adjusting his new wizard robes, simple black ones that Dumbledore had insisted would make a better impression than Muggle clothing for this important meeting. The door opened, and Dumbledore entered, followed by McGonagall and a large, imposing man with a beard and cautious eyes. Chief Jim Hopper looked exactly as Elle had described him, big, strong, and initially intimidating, but with a gentleness visible beneath the gruff exterior. Elle, he exclaimed, spotting her immediately. Elle ran to him without hesitation. Hopper knelt to embrace her, holding her tightly as if afraid she might disappear again. Jesus, kid, he murmured. You scared the hell out of me. Sorry, she whispered, clinging to him. Are you okay? He asked urgently, holding her at arm's length to examine her for injuries. Did they hurt you? Elle shook her head. Safe. Helped Harry. She turned, gesturing to where Harry stood awkwardly. Harry, this is Hopper. Hopper's gaze shifted to Harry, taking in the small boy with the lightning scar and wizard robes. His expression softened further. So you're Harry, he said, approaching slowly. Elle's been writing about you. Harry nodded, suddenly shy. Hello, sir. Thank you for coming. Kid, from what these wizard people tell me, you and Elle have been through hell together. No need for, sir. He extended his large hand. Call me Hopper. Harry shook the offered hand, feeling an immediate sense of security in Hopper's firm but gentle grip. Now, Hopper said, turning to Dumbledore, someone better start explaining exactly what's going on. I've spent the last 3 days thinking Elle was kidnapped, only to find out she's in England with wizards. And something about Harry being in danger from his relatives. And both of them being hunted by Brenner. It's a complex situation, Dumbledore acknowledged. Perhaps we should sit, and the children can tell their story first. For the next hour, Harry and Elle recounted their remarkable journey, from their initial mental connection to the escape from the Dursleys, the flight across America, and finally the confrontation that brought them to the Ministry. Mike and Dustin chimed in with details, while Hopper listened with increasing amazement and concern. So let me get this straight, he said when they finished. Elle somehow connected with Harry's mind across the ocean, saw he was being abused by his relatives, and opened some kind of portal to rescue him. Correct, Dumbledore confirmed. And Harry here isn't just any kid, but some kind of famous wizard who survived a magical assassination attempt as a baby? The boy who lived, he's called in our world, McGonagall supplied. And now both Brenner's people and dark wizards might be after them. Hopper continued, rubbing his forehead. Christ. An accurate summary, Dumbledore nodded. Hopper took a deep breath. Okay. What's the plan to keep them safe? That's what we've been discussing, Dumbledore explained. Harry requires protection from certain elements in the wizarding world. Elle needs protection from Dr. Brenner and his agency. Both need a stable home environment with someone who understands their unique circumstances. Hopper's eyes narrowed shrewdly. And you think that someone is me? It's what Elle wants, Dumbledore replied simply. And Harry seems agreeable as well. Hopper looked at the two children. Elle's expression was openly hopeful, while Harry tried to appear neutral despite the longing evident in his eyes. I've been taking care of Elle, Hopper said carefully. Hiding her from the lab. But adding another kid, especially one with his own set of dangers, that complicates things. Harry's heart sank, though he tried not to show his disappointment. However, Hopper continued, his expression softening as he looked at Harry, leaving a kid in a bad situation isn't something I can do. Not ever. Hope flickered in Harry's chest. What would it involve, legally? Hopper asked Dumbledore. I'm not exactly familiar with wizard custody arrangements. We would establish you as magical guardian for both children, Dumbledore explained. This would grant them certain protections under wizarding law, regardless of which country you reside in. Harry would still need to attend Hogwarts when he turns 11, but arrangements could be made for holidays and summers. And Brenner? Hopper pressed. How do we keep him away from them? The magical guardianship would place both children under wizarding protection, McGonagall explained. Attempts by Muggle agencies to interfere would trigger magical countermeasures. Plus, we've been working on masking their connection, Dumbledore added. Making it untraceable to Muggle technology. Hopper considered this, then turned to Harry. What do you want, kid? Really? Harry swallowed hard, unused to adults asking his preference. I want to stay with Elle, he said honestly. She's the first person who ever came for me when I needed help. And... He hesitated, then continued in a small voice, I've never had a proper home before. Something in Hopper's expression shifted, a resolute determination replacing uncertainty. All right, he said firmly. Let's make this happen. What do I need to sign? The relief and joy that flooded Harry was mirrored in Elle's beaming smile. Their connection pulsed warmly between them, momentarily causing the lights in the room to flicker. There will be challenges, Dumbledore cautioned. Arrangements to make. Safety measures to implement. There always are, Hopper replied pragmatically. But these kids have been through enough. Time they had someone in their corner. As the adults began discussing legal details, Harry moved to sit beside Elle, both watching Hopper with a newfound sense of hope. Told you, Elle whispered. Good dad material. Harry nodded, a lump in his throat preventing speech. For the first time in his life, he could envision a future with a real home, with people who actually wanted him. The moment was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. The door burst open to reveal a flustered wizard Harry didn't recognize. Headmaster, the wizard exclaimed. There's been a breach in the Ministry's outer defenses. Muggle technology of unknown type has penetrated the concealment charms. Dumbledore rose immediately. Where? Approaching the visitors' entrance. They seemed to be following some kind of energy signature. Elle and Harry exchanged alarmed glances. Brenner, they said in unison. How could he track you here? McGonagall demanded. The potions, the amulets, the connection got stronger last night, Harry admitted. We could feel it. Hopper was already on his feet. We need to move. Now. To where? Dumbledore asked. If they can track the children's energy signature, somewhere with interference, Hopper suggested quickly. Somewhere with so much magical energy it would mask them. Dumbledore's eyes lit with understanding. Hogwarts. The school? McGonagall questioned. But term hasn't started. The protections are more than sufficient, Dumbledore assured her. And the ambient magic of the castle should thoroughly confuse any Muggle tracking devices. Hopper turned to the children. Pack quickly. Only what you absolutely need. As they scrambled to gather their few belongings, Harry felt the familiar anxiety of flight, but this time, tempered with something new. Trust in the adults helping them. And beyond that, a growing confidence in his own abilities. Whatever came next, he wasn't the helpless boy in the cupboard anymore. He had Elle, he had friends, and now, incredibly, he had Hopper. He had family. Chapter 3, Two Worlds. Alarms blared through the Ministry of Magic as Harry clutched his backpack, racing alongside Elle through winding corridors. Hopper led the way, following Dumbledore's billowing robes while Ministry workers scattered in all directions. How close are they? Mike shouted over the noise, struggling to keep pace. Too close, Dustin panted. If they've already breached the outer defenses, less talking, more running, Hopper cut in, his hand protectively on Elle's shoulder. They rounded a corner into the Ministry's main atrium, a vast open space with emerald green fireplaces lining the walls and a polished wooden floor reflecting the peacock blue ceiling. A massive golden fountain dominated the center, featuring magical creatures gazing adoringly at a witch and wizard. The Floo network is our fastest exit, Dumbledore explained, steering them toward the nearest fireplace. Minerva has gone ahead to prepare the castle. The what network? Hopper asked skeptically. A tremendous crash echoed from the entrance hall. Ministry security wizards shouted warnings and commands. They're inside, someone yelled. Harry turned to see men in dark suits pouring through the visitors' entrance, carrying strange electronic devices that emitted pulsing lights. Leading them, his white hair unmistakable even at a distance, was Dr. Brenner. Papa, Elle whispered, freezing momentarily. Harry grabbed her hand. Keep moving. The connection between them surged with shared fear and determination as they sprinted the final distance to the fireplaces. Dumbledore thrust his hand into a pot beside the hearth, withdrawing a handful of glittering powder. Stand together in the fireplace, he instructed rapidly. When I throw this powder, the flames will turn green. Don't be frightened, they won't burn you. Actual fire? Hopper questioned, eyeing the hearth dubiously. No time to explain, Dumbledore urged. You must clearly say, Hogwarts headmaster's office, when I signal. They crowded into the large fireplace, Hopper pulling Mike and Dustin in protectively while Harry and Elle pressed close together. From across the atrium, Harry heard Brenner's cold voice call out. Subject 11. We know you're here. Elle's grip tightened painfully on Harry's hand. The lights throughout the atrium flickered as her fear translated into power. Now! Dumbledore commanded, throwing the powder into the grate. Green flames erupted around them, temporarily blinding Harry. Brenner's voice grew closer, too close. Hogwarts headmaster's office, they shouted in ragged unison. The ministry vanished in a dizzying whirl. Harry felt Elle's hand still firmly in his as they spun through a disorienting tunnel of green light, glimpsing flashes of other rooms and fireplaces. Just as the nausea became unbearable, they crashed onto a hard stone floor. Harry scrambled to his feet, disoriented but relieved to see they'd all arrived together, Hopper, Mike, Dustin, Elle, and himself. They stood in a circular room filled with strange silver instruments that whirred and puffed small clouds of smoke. Portraits of elderly witches and wizards lined the walls, their painted eyes following the new arrivals with interest. What the hell was that? Hopper demanded, helping Mike and Dustin up. Fluid travel, McGonagall explained, appearing from behind an enormous desk. Magical transportation through connected fireplaces. Elle turned in a slow circle, taking in the strange office with wide eyes. Where are we? Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, McGonagall replied. The headmaster's office, specifically. Are we safe here? Harry asked, still feeling the phantom sensation of Brenner's presence. For the moment, McGonagall confirmed. Hogwarts has protections that have stood for 1,000 years. No Muggle technology can penetrate them. A flash of green flame announced Dumbledore's arrival. He stepped gracefully from the fireplace, brushing soot from his robes. They breached the ministry, he reported grimly. Dr. Brenner has somehow convinced both British and American Muggle authorities that retrieving Elle is a matter of international security. How did they even find the ministry? Dustin asked. I thought it was hidden from non-magical people. A disturbing question indeed, Dumbledore agreed. It seems their tracking technology has evolved beyond our understanding. Hopper crossed his arms. It's not just technology. Brenner is obsessed with Elle. He'll never stop. Then we stop him, Elle said firmly, her small face set with determination. How? Mike asked. He's got government backing now. Probably in both countries. Harry exchanged a meaningful look with Elle, feeling their connection hum with shared resolve. Together, he said simply. Dumbledore observed them thoughtfully. Your combined abilities may indeed be our greatest asset. But first, we need time to prepare, and you all need rest. I'll show you to quarters, McGonagall offered. Term hasn't started, so the dormitories are empty. I'm not letting these kids out of my sight, Hopper stated flatly. Of course, McGonagall agreed. We've prepared family accommodations in the East Tower. As they followed McGonagall through the castle, Harry could hardly take in all the wonders around him. Moving staircases shifted positions overhead. Paintings conversed and moved between frames. Ghosts, actual ghosts, floated through walls, nodding politely as they passed. This place is insane, Dustin whispered, eyes wide as an animated suit of armor saluted them. Good insane or bad insane? Harry asked nervously. Definitely good, Mike assured him, watching in awe as they passed a window showing impossible views of mountains that couldn't possibly be visible from that angle. Elle remained silent, but Harry felt her wonder and cautious excitement through their connection. She'd been locked in labs and cabins for most of her life. The vast, magical openness of Hogwarts represented a freedom beyond anything she'd experienced. McGonagall led them to a portrait of a knight on horseback. Sir Cadogan, we have guests. The painted knight bowed so low he fell off his horse. Password, my lady. Sanctuary, McGonagall replied. The portrait swung open to reveal a comfortable suite with a central living area surrounded by bedrooms. A fire crackled merrily in the hearth, and large windows overlooked the Hogwarts grounds, a sweeping vista of forests, mountains, and a vast lake gleaming in the afternoon sun. "This will be your quarters for now," McGonagall explained. "The house elves have provided food, clothing, and necessities. The headmaster will join you shortly to discuss our next steps." After McGonagall departed, they explored the suite, finding bedrooms personalized for each of them. Harry's contained a small bookshelf of wizarding titles, a set of child-sized wizard robes, and a model broomstick that actually hovered a foot above the floor. "Check this out," Dustin called from his room, where wizard chess pieces moved on their own, bowing to their new player. Elle's room featured a canopy bed with twinkling lights embedded in the fabric, resembling the starry ceiling they'd created during their power demonstration. Mike found communications equipment, enchanted parchment linked to their parents back home, while Hopper discovered a room with maps of both Hogwarts and Hawkins, magically updating to show movements of people in real time. They gathered in the central living area, where platters of food appeared on a long table: roast chicken, potatoes, vegetables, and pitchers of orange juice and something called pumpkin juice. "Magic food delivery," Mike observed, helping himself to a chicken leg. "Definitely beats fast food." Hopper stood at the window, vigilantly scanning the grounds. "This place is incredible, but we can't stay here forever. We need a permanent solution." "Dumbledore said we'd be safe here," Harry pointed out. "Kid, I've learned not to put too much faith in other people's promises," Hopper replied. "Even wizards." Elle moved to stand beside him, slipping her small hand into his large one. "We'll figure it out." Hopper squeezed her hand, then reached out to include Harry in their circle. "Yeah, we will. All of us." Harry felt something warm expand in his chest as Hopper's hand rested on his shoulder. Is this what having a parent feels like? He wondered. Their moment was interrupted by a knock at the portrait entrance. Dumbledore entered, followed by a large man with a wild beard who made even Hopper look small by comparison. "Good evening," Dumbledore greeted them. "I'd like to introduce Rubeus Hagrid, Keeper of Keys and Grounds at Hogwarts." "Blimey," Hagrid breathed, staring at Harry. "Last time I saw ya, you was just a baby, Harry. Yeah, look just like your dad, but you've got your mum's eyes." "You knew my parents?" Harry asked eagerly. "Course I did," Hagrid smiled beneath his tangled beard. "Wonderful people, they were. I was the one who," he stopped abruptly, glancing at Dumbledore. "The one who what?" Harry pressed. Hagrid shifted uncomfortably. "Well, I was the one who took ya to your aunt and uncle's after, ya know." An awkward silence fell. "I'm sure Hagrid had no idea how they would treat you," Dumbledore said gently. Hagrid looked horrified. "They mistreated ya? Those muggles?" "If I'd known, it doesn't matter now," Harry interrupted, not wanting to revisit those memories. "I'm away from them. That's what's important." Hagrid nodded, but his beetle-black eyes shimmered with emotion. "Well, you're at Hogwarts now. Best place in the world, if ya ask me." "We've come to discuss immediate concerns," Dumbledore explained, taking a seat. "Dar. Brenner has made formal diplomatic complaints to both British and American Muggle authorities, claiming we've abducted Elle and are harboring her illegally." "That's rich coming from the guy who kidnapped and experimented on her," Mike said bitterly. "Unfortunately, in the Muggle world, Brenner has documentation establishing himself as Elle's legal guardian, falsified, of course, but convincing to authorities." Hopper straightened. "So what happens now?" "The Minister for Magic is meeting with the Muggle Prime Minister to explain the situation," Dumbledore said. "However, international pressure is mounting. The American Magical Congress is also involved, as they have jurisdiction over magical matters in the United States." "All these agencies and ministries," Hopper growled. "Bottom line, can they force Elle to go back to Brenner?" Dumbledore's expression grew grave. "Not while you're at Hogwarts. But we cannot keep you here indefinitely without a more permanent legal solution." "What about the guardianship papers we discussed?" Hopper asked. Being prepared, Dumbledore assured him. But there's another complication. Harry's situation involves prophecy and protection that requires careful consideration. Prophecy? Harry repeated. What prophecy? Dumbledore hesitated. Perhaps that's a discussion for when you're older. No, Harry interrupted firmly. No more secrets. If it involves me, I deserve to know. Elle nodded in agreement, moving to stand supportively beside Harry. Dumbledore studied them for a long moment. Very well. Before you were born, Harry, a prophecy was made about a child who would have the power to defeat Voldemort. Voldemort learned of this prophecy and believed it referred to you, which is why he attacked your family. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. So he tried to kill me because of a prediction? Harry finally asked, his voice small. Voldemort feared anyone who might threaten his power, Dumbledore explained gently. The prophecy suggested you could be his downfall. And was I? Did I defeat him when I was a baby? You survived his attack, which no one had ever done before. His body was destroyed, though as I explained earlier, he is not completely gone. And this affects our situation how? Hopper pressed. The protective magic your mother bestowed upon you, Harry, is tied to family blood, Dumbledore explained. It was strongest while you lived with your aunt. Now that connection is broken. Good, Harry said firmly. I'm never going back there. I understand, Dumbledore assured him. But new protections must be established, especially if you're to live in America, away from the wizarding community. We'll protect him, Elle stated, her certainty absolute. Dumbledore smiled slightly. Yes, I believe you will. In fact, the connection between you and Harry seems to have created a new kind of protection, one neither Voldemort nor his followers would understand or anticipate. Is that enough? Hopper asked skeptically. With proper magical reinforcement, yes, Dumbledore replied. And regular training for Harry to control his developing abilities. Training how? Harry asked. If I'm in America, we could arrange for a wizarding tutor to visit regularly, Dumbledore suggested. Someone to guide your magical education until you're ready to attend Hogwarts. So I would still come to Hogwarts when I'm 11? Harry clarified. That would be ideal, Dumbledore confirmed. Your parents registered you at birth, and your education here is important, not just for your magical training, but for your role in our world. Harry frowned. What role? The boy who lived carries significant meaning to wizardkind, Dumbledore explained carefully. Whether you choose to embrace it or not, you represent hope to many. Great, Harry muttered. No pressure. We're getting ahead of ourselves, Hopper intervened. First, we need to deal with Brenner and establish legal guardianship. Then we can worry about schools and prophecies. Quite right, Dumbledore agreed. To that end, I've scheduled a hearing tomorrow with representatives from the Ministry of Magic, the American Magical Congress, and yes, Dr. Brenner himself. Brenner is coming here. Elle whispered, fear evident in her voice. Under strict magical supervision, Dumbledore assured her. He will have no opportunity to harm you. Why even let him in? Mike demanded. After everything he's done. Because ignoring Muggle diplomatic channels creates larger problems, Dumbledore explained. Better to address his claims directly and dismiss them formally. I don't like it, Hopper stated flatly. Nor do I, Dumbledore admitted. But confronting him from a position of strength, with magical law on our side, gives us the best chance of ending his pursuit permanently. Elle and Harry exchanged worried glances, their connection humming with shared anxiety. We need to be ready, Harry said quietly. Just in case. Elle nodded in understanding. You'll both be fully protected, Dumbledore promised. No harm will come to you at Hogwarts. After Dumbledore and Hagrid departed, Hopper gathered everyone in the living area. All right, I don't fully trust these wizard people, no offense, Harry. None taken, Harry assured him. I barely know them myself. So we need our own plan, Hopper continued. Tomorrow, when Brenner comes, we stay together. No one gets separated, no matter what. And if something goes wrong? Mike asked. Hopper looked at Elle and Harry. You two have gotten yourselves out of tight spots before. Can you do it again if needed? Harry felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. I think so. Our powers are stronger when we work together. We should practice, Elle suggested. Before tomorrow. Is that safe? Dustin wondered. I mean, Brenner tracks your energy signatures, right? Dumbledore said Hogwarts blocks that kind of tracking, Mike reminded him. Still, Hopper cautioned, keep it small. Nothing that would draw attention. They cleared space in the center of the room. Harry and Elle stood facing each other, hands joined. What should we try? Harry asked. Protection, Elle replied simply. Shield. Harry nodded, understanding her intent. They closed their eyes, focusing on the energy flowing between them. Harry envisioned a barrier surrounding them all, impenetrable, protective. The air shimmered as a translucent golden dome formed around their group, expanding outward from Harry and Elle's joined hands until it encompassed everyone. Whoa, Dustin breathed, reaching out to touch the barrier. His fingers met resistance, like pressing against firm rubber. This is incredible. Can you maintain it while moving? Hopper asked practically. Elle's brow furrowed with concentration as she took a step forward, pulling Harry with her. The shield moved with them, maintaining its integrity. Yes, she confirmed. But tiring. How about letting people through? Mike suggested. Like, can you control who passes through it? Harry concentrated, visualizing a door in the shield. Dustin, try walking through now. Dustin approached cautiously, then stepped through a section of the barrier that momentarily wavered to admit him. Selective permeability, he exclaimed. Like a cell membrane. They practiced for another hour, discovering they could expand and contract the shield that will allow specific people to pass through while blocking others, make it completely invisible or glow brightly as needed. Maintain it for about 15 minutes before exhaustion set in. That's enough, Hopper decided when he noticed blood beginning to trickle from Elle's nose. You need to save your strength for tomorrow. They spent the evening exploring their quarters and the immediate vicinity of the castle. Hagrid returned to take them on a brief tour, showing them the great hall with its enchanted ceiling, the moving staircases, and the entrance to the grounds. You'll get the full tour when you come back for school, Harry, Hagrid assured him. Can't wait to see ya sorted into your house. Your parents were both Gryffindors, you know. Houses? Harry questioned. Hogwarts has 4 houses, Hagrid explained enthusiastically. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. When ya start school, the Sorting Hat decides where ya belong based on your character. Harry tried to imagine returning here in 2 years' time, becoming a proper wizard student. The idea felt both exciting and strange, especially if it meant being separated from Elle and the others. That night, as the others slept, Harry found Elle sitting by the window in the living area, gazing out at the starlit grounds. Can't sleep? He asked, joining her. She shook her head. Nervous. About tomorrow. Me too, Harry admitted. But we'll face him together. Elle nodded, then asked quietly, will you come back here? For school. Harry hesitated. I think I'm supposed to. My parents went here, and Dumbledore seems to think it's important. Far away, Elle observed, her expression troubled. Maybe you could come too. Harry suggested hopefully. If you have powers, couldn't you learn magic? Elle shook her head. Different. My powers, not the same. We could ask Dumbledore, Harry persisted. Or maybe I could go to school in America instead. Your place is here, Elle said with surprising certainty. In this world. But you and Hopper and the others, you're my family now, Harry protested. Elle smiled slightly. Family doesn't end. Just because far away. Harry felt the truth in her words through their connection. We'll always be connected, won't we? Even if I'm here and you're in Hawkins? Yes, Elle confirmed. Always. Morning arrived too quickly. Dumbledore escorted them to a large chamber on the ground floor that had been arranged for the hearing. A long table faced rows of chairs, with smaller tables on either side for the various delegations. The ministry representatives have already arrived, Dumbledore informed them. As have members of the American Magical Congress. Dr. Brenner will be brought in separately, under guard. Hopper positioned himself protectively near the children. Remember the plan. Stay together, no matter what. They took seats in the front row. Harry felt the atmosphere in the room shift as wizards and witches in formal robes filed in, many staring curiously at their unusual group, particularly at Harry with his lightning scar. That's Cornelius Fudge, the Minister for Magic. Dumbledore quietly identified a portly man in a pinstriped cloak and lime-green bowler hat. And beside him, Madame Bones, head of magical law enforcement. The American delegation looked slightly different, their robes more modern in cut and style. Their leader, a stern-looking witch introduced as President Pickquery, approached their group before taking her seat. Mr. Hopper, she acknowledged with a slight accent. The American Magical Congress has reviewed your situation with great interest. We seldom interact with no-mage law enforcement. No-mage? Hopper questioned. Non-magical individuals, she clarified. What the British call muggles. Right, Hopper nodded. Well, I'm just here to make sure these kids are protected. President Pickering gaze shifted to Elle and Harry. A most unusual pair. The reports of your combined abilities are quite extraordinary. Before she could continue, the doors opened again. 2 Aurors, wizard law enforcement, Dumbledore had explained, led in Dr. Brenner. He wore his customary neat suit, his white hair immaculately styled, his expression calm and clinical. Elle immediately tensed. Harry took her hand, feeling her fear and anger pulse through their connection. Hopper shifted to partially block Brenner's view of the children. Dr. Martin Brenner, Minister Fudge announced formally. You have requested this hearing to address claims regarding Jane Hopper, also known as 11. The Ministry of Magic has agreed to hear these claims in the interest of international cooperation. Brenner stepped forward, his cold eyes scanning the room until they locked onto Elle. A small smile touched his lips. Thank you, Minister, he said smoothly. I appreciate your government's cooperation in this sensitive matter. Before you begin, Madame Bones interrupted, I must clarify that this hearing will proceed according to magical law, as we are within a magical institution and dealing with individuals under magical protection. Of course, Brenner nodded, though his expression suggested the concept of magical law meant little to him. Please state your claim, Fudge instructed. Brenner clasped his hands behind his back, adopting a professional demeanor. I represent the United States Department of Energy. The child known as 11 is a participant in a classified research program of vital importance to national security. She was removed from our facility without authorization and subsequently transported out of the country illegally. Participant? Hopper growled, rising to his feet. You kept her prisoner. Experimented on her. Treated her like a lab rat. Chief Hopper, Brenner acknowledged coolly. Your interference in government operations has been noted. I understand you've been harboring 11 for some time. I've been protecting a child from abuse, Hopper retorted. Dr. Brenner, Madame Bones interjected, do you have documentation establishing your legal relationship to the child? Of course. Brenner removed a folder from his briefcase, presenting it to the wizard officials. These papers confirm my legal guardianship, established through proper channels in the United States government. Madame Bones examined the documents, then passed them to President Pickquery, who frowned deeply. These papers appear authentic from a no-mage perspective, Pickquery noted. However, our records indicate they were created through irregular channels. Furthermore, magical jurisdiction takes precedence in cases involving individuals with magical abilities. The girl is not magical, Brenner stated flatly. She's the result of scientific advancement, controlled development of psychic abilities through specialized training. That's a lie. Mike burst out. You didn't develop anything. You stole her from her mother and tortured her. Young man, you have no understanding of the complexities, Brenner began. I understand plenty, Mike interrupted fiercely. I was there when she escaped from you. I saw what you did to her. Dumbledore rose gracefully, commanding the room's attention. Perhaps we should hear from the young lady herself. Elle, would you like to speak? All eyes turned to Elle, who sat rigid beside Harry, their hands still firmly clasped. After a moment, she nodded and stood, pulling Harry up with her. Papa, she addressed Brenner directly, her voice small but steady. You hurt me. Locked me up. Made me do bad things. I gave you purpose, 11, Brenner replied, his tone softening to the paternal voice he'd always used with her. I helped you develop your gifts. Elle shook her head firmly. Not gifts. Weapons. You wanted weapons. The world is dangerous, 11. Your abilities could protect our country. No, Elle stated flatly. Not going back. Ever. Brenner's expression hardened slightly. You don't have a choice. You're a minor under my legal care, and your abilities make you a matter of national security. She does have a choice, Harry spoke up suddenly, surprising even himself. And she chooses freedom. Brenner's cold gaze shifted to Harry, studying him with clinical interest. Harry Potter. The British boy with unusual abilities of his own. You've become quite the variable in our equation. Leave him alone, Elle said fiercely. On the contrary, Brenner smiled thinly. Harry presents fascinating research possibilities. The interaction between his abilities and yours could revolutionize our understanding of psychic phenomena. Dr. Brenner, Madame Bones interrupted sternly, Mr. Potter is a wizard under the protection of magical law. Any attempt to interfere with him would constitute a serious breach of the statute of secrecy. Wizard, Brenner repeated, his tone skeptical yet intrigued. Interesting terminology for genetic anomalies. Minister Fudge puffed up indignantly. See here, Dr. Brenner. The magical community has existed alongside Muggles for centuries, governed by our own laws and protections. And what of the girl? Brenner pressed. You claim she falls under your magical jurisdiction. Recent observations confirm that Elle possesses abilities that qualify as magical under Section 3 of the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy, President Pickweary stated formally. The American Magical Congress therefore claims primary jurisdiction in this matter. Brenner's composure slipped momentarily, revealing frustration. This is absurd. 11 is the product of scientific research, not some mythical magical lineage. The origin of magical abilities varies, Dumbledore explained calmly. Some are born to magical families, others, Muggle-borns, develop magic spontaneously. Elle's case may be unique, but the effects are undeniably magical in nature. I've seen no evidence of this so-called magic, Brenner challenged. Harry felt a surge of protective anger. Without conscious thought, his and Elle's connection flared brightly. The shield they had practiced materialized around them, glowing golden and pulsing with power. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several of the wizard officials drew their wands instinctively. There's your evidence, Hopper stated flatly. Brenner stared at the shield with naked scientific curiosity. Fascinating. Their combined energy output exceeds anything we recorded in isolation. Dr. Brenner, Dumbledore said firmly, it should be clear now that these children possess abilities beyond conventional science. They belong in an environment where they can safely develop these abilities without exploitation. And you propose what, exactly? Brenner asked. That I simply abandon years of research. That I allow two subjects of immense scientific importance to disappear into your magical world. They're not subjects, Hopper growled. They're kids. Madam Bones cleared her throat. We have reviewed the guardianship petition submitted by Chief James Hopper. Given the circumstances, and the clear bond between him and the children, we are inclined to grant magical guardianship status. Objection. Brenner declared. This man has no legal standing. In the magical world, he does, President Pickquery countered. The American Magical Congress recognizes Chief Hopper's claim based on established care and the children's expressed wishes. Minister Fudge nodded in agreement. Furthermore, evidence of mistreatment under your care, Dr. Brenner, invalidates any prior claim you might have had. Brenner's eyes narrowed dangerously. The United States government will not accept this interference in classified operations. The magical governments of both nations are prepared to invoke memory modification protocols if necessary, Fudge stated firmly. Your superiors will remember canceling the project due to budget constraints, not losing subjects to wizards. You're threatening to alter memories? Brenner asked incredulously. Standard procedure when maintaining the statute of secrecy, Pickquery confirmed. Unless you prefer a diplomatic incident that reveals the existence of magic to your government. Harry watched the exchange with growing hope, sensing the tide turning against Brenner. The shield around them still glowed steadily, fueled by their shared determination. Brenner seemed to calculate his options, his scientific mind processing this new reality where his authority was superseded by laws he'd never known existed. This isn't over, he finally said, his voice cold. These children represent too much potential to simply abandon. It is over, Dumbledore contradicted calmly. The magical world protects its own, Dr. Brenner. Any further pursuit of these children will trigger consequences beyond your imagination. Before Brenner could respond, the doors to the chamber burst open. A ministry official rushed in, his face pale. Minister. There's been a breach at the gates. Muggle vehicles with unusual equipment have surrounded the perimeter. Impossible, Fudge spluttered. Hogwarts cannot be found by Muggles. Brenner's thin smile returned. Did you really think I would come alone? My team has been developing technology to trace psychic energy signatures for years. Your magical protections are impressive, but science evolves. Alarm spread through the chamber as more officials arrived with reports of the encroachment. Through the windows, Harry could see black vehicles positioned at the gates of Hogwarts, men in tactical gear deploying equipment. They cannot enter the grounds, Dumbledore assured everyone. Hogwarts protections prevent it. Are you certain? Brenner challenged. Our equipment detected unusual energy concentrations in this exact location from hundreds of miles away. Your protections may hide the castle from ordinary perception, but they cannot mask the energy these children produce. As if confirming his words, the stone walls trembled slightly. Dust fell from ancient rafters. They're attempting to breach the magical barriers, McGonagall realized with horror. Elle's grip on Harry's hand tightened painfully. Through their connection, he felt her terror at the prospect of being taken back to the lab, and her absolute determination to prevent it. We need to get the children to safety, Dumbledore decided. Minerva, escort them to the room of requirement. No, Hopper interrupted. No more running. No more hiding. He turned to Harry and Elle, kneeling to their level. These people won't stop unless we make them stop. Can you do that? Can you show them once and for all that they can't control you? Harry and Elle exchanged glances, their connection humming with shared understanding. Yes, they answered in unison. This is madness, Fudge protested. They're children. They're more than that, Hopper replied. They're survivors. Dumbledore studied them thoughtfully, then nodded. Very well. To the main entrance, then. They moved through the castle as a group, wizard officials and aurors surrounding them protectively. Harry and Elle maintained their shield, drawing curious and impressed looks from the wizards. At the massive oak doors of Hogwarts, they paused. Beyond the threshold lay the sweeping grounds, and at the distant gates, Brenner's team worked to penetrate the magical barriers with their equipment. "Stay behind us," Madame Bones instructed, as Aurors formed a defensive line. "No," Elle said quietly. "Harry and I will go first." "That's too dangerous," McGonagall protested. "Trust them," Hopper urged. "They know what they're doing." With reluctant nods from the wizard officials, Harry and Elle stepped through the doorway onto the stone steps overlooking the grounds. Their shield glowed brighter in the daylight, a dome of golden energy surrounding them. "What's your plan?" Mike whispered from behind them. "Show them," Elle replied simply. "What happens when they push us?" Harry nodded in agreement. Together, they began walking down the path toward the gates. Behind them, Hopper, Mike, Dustin, and the wizard contingent followed at a cautious distance. As they approached, Harry could see Brenner directing his team, pointing instruments toward the castle. The moment they spotted Harry and Elle, activity intensified. "Subject 11 sighted," someone called through a radio. Brenner turned, his expression shifting from determined to triumphant as he spotted them approaching. 11. "Harry. Come closer, we're here to help you." Elle's derisive snort made Harry smile despite the tension. They stopped about 50 yards from the gates, their shield maintaining a steady glow around them. "That's far enough," Harry called. "We have something to show you." "Wonderful," Brenner replied, his scientific curiosity evident. "We're very interested in your combined abilities." Elle shook her head. "Not a demonstration. A warning." She looked at Harry, and through their connection, he understood exactly what she intended. Together, they focused their energy, not just through their joined hands but through their mental link, strengthening and amplifying it. The shield around them pulsed brighter, expanding outward in concentric waves of golden light. The ground beneath their feet trembled slightly as power built between them. "Remarkable," Brenner murmured, gesturing for his team to adjust their recording equipment. "The energy output is exponential when they work in tandem." "You don't understand," Harry called to him. "We're not lab subjects. We're not weapons. We're just kids who want to be left alone." "With tremendous power," Brenner countered. "Power that could benefit humanity if properly directed." "Like you directed me?" Elle asked bitterly. "To hurt people. To open gates to other dimensions." Brenner's expression hardened. "That was unfortunate. But with Harry's influence, we could achieve controlled results. Think of the possibilities." 11. "My name is Elle," she stated firmly. "And we're done being controlled." With that declaration, Elle and Harry pushed their combined power outward. The golden energy surged toward the gates in a massive wave, washing over Brenner's equipment. Electronic devices sparked and smoked. Monitoring screens cracked. The black vehicle's electrical systems failed simultaneously, their headlights exploding in showers of glass. Brenner watched in alarm as his technology crumbled under the assault. "Stop. You're destroying years of research." "Good," Elle replied coldly. They focused harder, directing their energy specifically at the instruments designed to track them. Each device melted or shattered as the golden light touched it. Men in tactical gear backed away in fear as their weapons grew too hot to hold. "You can't hide from science." 11. Brenner called desperately. "We'll build better equipment. Develop new methods. There will always be people interested in abilities like yours." "Maybe," Harry acknowledged. "But they'll learn what happens when they come after us." With a final surge of power, they created a blinding flash of golden light that spread across the entire perimeter of Hogwarts. When it faded, every piece of Brenner's specialized equipment lay in ruins. Elle took a step closer to the gate, fixing Brenner with the steady gaze she developed after months of freedom and friendship. "Go away," she said simply. "For good." Brenner stared at the destruction around him, then back at the children. For the first time, Harry saw something new in the man's cold eyes: fear. This isn't science, Brenner muttered, backing toward the only vehicle still partially functional. This is something else entirely. Magic, Harry confirmed. Brenner shook his head in denial, but continued retreating. His team scrambled to salvage what they could, loading fragments of equipment into the remaining vehicle. Dumbledore approached, standing supportively beside Harry and Elle. "I believe our demonstration is complete, Dr. Brenner. The children will remain under magical protection, with Chief Hopper as their guardian. Any further pursuit will be met with increasingly creative responses." Brenner's composure cracked further at the quiet threat in Dumbledore's voice. "The government will never stop seeking this level of power. Then we'll keep showing them why they should," Hopper stated, placing his hands protectively on Harry and Elle's shoulders. As Brenner's defeated team retreated down the road from Hogwarts, Minister Fudge approached, looking both impressed and concerned. "Most extraordinary," he commented, watching the children lower their shield as exhaustion set in. "Though I must say, such displays make our task of maintaining secrecy rather challenging. I believe memory modification charms will be necessary for Dr. Brenner and his team," Madam Bones suggested. "Nothing too extensive, just enough to remove their specific knowledge of the children's whereabouts and the nature of their combined abilities." President Pickweary nodded in agreement. "The American Magical Congress will ensure appropriate coverage. A failed research expedition, equipment malfunctions due to atmospheric conditions, budget cuts ending the program permanently. And the guardianship?" Hopper pressed. "Will be formalized immediately," Pickweary confirmed. "With special provisions for Harry's eventual magical education." As the officials discussed logistics, Harry felt his legs wobble with exhaustion. Elle looked equally drained, blood trickling from her nose. They leaned against each other supportively. "You guys were awesome," Dustin exclaimed, rushing forward with Mike. "Totally badass," Mike agreed. Brenner's face when his equipment started exploding? Priceless. Hopper knelt before them, examining them with concern. "You okay?" Elle nodded tiredly. "Worth it." "Definitely," Harry agreed. "Let's get you inside," Hopper suggested, helping them up the path back to the castle. As they walked, Harry felt a strange mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. For the first time in his life, he'd stood up to an adult who wanted to control him, and won. Not by running away, but by demonstrating his own strength. "Proud of you," Elle whispered, sensing his thoughts through their connection. "Proud of us," Harry corrected, squeezing her hand. The following days passed in a whirlwind of meetings, paperwork, and preparations. Magical guardianship documents were finalized, giving Hopper legal authority over both children in both the magical and non-magical worlds. Special arrangements were made for Harry's future. He would live with Hopper and Ellen Hawkins, attending local school while receiving magical tutoring from a wizard assigned by Dumbledore. When he turned 11, he would attend Hogwarts during the school year, returning to Hawkins for holidays and summers. "It's not ideal," Dumbledore admitted during their final meeting. "But it respects both your need for family and your place in the wizarding world." "What about the protection from my mother?" Harry asked. "The blood magic?" "We've developed alternatives," Dumbledore explained. "The connection you share with Elle creates a unique form of protection, different from your mother's sacrifice, but powerful in its own right. Additionally, we'll establish magical wards around Chief Hopper's cabin." "And Brenner?" Elle asked quietly. "Has had his memories modified," McGonagall assured her. "He retains his scientific knowledge but no longer associates it with you specifically. His project has been officially terminated by his government." "What about me?" Elle asked hesitantly. "Am I magical? Like Harry?" Dumbledore considered this thoughtfully. "Your abilities are unique, perhaps a bridge between what wizards call magic and what muggles call science. You weren't born into the wizarding world as Harry was, but you've certainly become part of it." "Will I get a wand?" she pressed. "We can certainly try," Dumbledore smiled. "Though I suspect your powers work differently than traditional magic." You may find your own tools and methods as you grow. Mike and Dustin had been sent home ahead of them, returned to Hawkins with modified memories for their parents, not removing their knowledge of Harry and Elle's abilities, but creating plausible explanations for their absence that wouldn't raise alarm. Your friends have proven remarkably trustworthy, Dumbledore told them. The statute of secrecy allows for close family and friends to know of magic under certain circumstances. On their final evening at Hogwarts, Harry stood on the astronomy tower with Elle, gazing over the magical castle that would eventually become his school. Will you be okay? Elle asked. Coming here alone? I won't be alone, Harry replied. I'll have you in here. He tapped his temple, indicating their mental connection. And I'll come home every chance I get. Home, Elle repeated, testing the word. Cabin is home now. For both of us. And for vacations, maybe we can visit Hogwarts together, Harry suggested. I bet Dumbledore would allow it. Elle nodded, her expression brightening at the thought. Both worlds. Exactly, Harry agreed. We'll have both worlds. The next morning, their small group gathered in Dumbledore's office for their departure. A special international portkey had been arranged to take them directly to Hopper's cabin in Hawkins. Remember, Harry, Dumbledore said, handing him a small package, inside you'll find basic magical texts to begin your studies. Your tutor will arrive next week to establish a learning schedule. Thank you, sir, Harry replied, feeling genuine gratitude despite his lingering questions about Dumbledore's past decisions. And for you, Elle, McGonagall added, presenting a slender box. A wand. We're not certain it will work for you as it would for a traditional witch, but it may help focus your abilities. Elle accepted the box reverently, opening it to reveal a pale wooden wand with an unusual core. Thank you, she whispered. Ready to go home, kids? Hopper asked, holding out the portkey, a battered old sheriff's badge. Ready, they confirmed in unison. As they touched the portkey, Harry took one last look at Hogwarts, committing its towers and turrets to memory. In 2 years, he would return as a student. But for now, he was going home, to a real home, with people who actually wanted him. The portkey activated, spinning them through space. They landed with a thud in Hopper's living room, the familiar cabin materializing around them. Welcome home, Hopper said gruffly, looking around his modest cabin with new appreciation. Elle immediately moved to the sofa, running her hands over the familiar cushions as if to reassure herself it was real. Harry stood uncertainly in the center of the room, still clutching his package of spell books. Where should I? He began hesitantly. Your room's through there, Hopper pointed down the short hallway. Used to be a storage closet, but we fixed it up while you were at Hogwarts. Nothing fancy, but it's yours. Harry followed his direction to find a small but comfortable bedroom with a real bed, a desk, and shelves for his belongings. Someone, probably Elle, had placed a hand-drawn welcome sign above the bed. For the second time in his life, he had a room of his own, not a cupboard under the stairs. Like it? Elle asked from the doorway. Harry nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. Good, she said simply, understanding without words through their connection. Friends coming over soon. Welcome home party. Party? Harry repeated, having never had one before. Elle nodded. Egos. And cake. Sounds perfect, Harry smiled. That evening, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will crowded into Hopper's cabin, eager to hear about their adventures, though they already knew much through Mike and Dustin's first-hand experiences. Joyce Byers came too, having been partially informed of the situation through Hopper. As Harry sat surrounded by friends, eating cake and recounting their escape from Brenner, he felt a contentment he'd never known possible. Elle sat beside him, their connection a warm, steady presence binding them together even when they weren't actively using their powers. Later, when the others had gone and Hopper was teaching Harry the rules of the cabin, same as Elle's, don't be stupid, and don't go outside alone, Harry realized something profound had changed inside him. The frightened, lonely boy from the cupboard under the stairs was gone. In his place stood someone new, still young, still learning, but no longer defined by fear and neglect. "Bedtime, kids," Hopper announced, switching off the television where they'd been watching a movie. "School starts Monday for both of you." School, Harry repeated, the concept of attending a normal school with Elle both exciting and nerve-wracking. "Don't worry," Elle assured him. "I'm still learning too. We can be new together." As Harry settled into his new bed that night, he thought about the extraordinary journey that had brought him here. From Privet Drive to Hawkins, from isolation to connection, from powerlessness to strength. In 2 years, he would begin another journey at Hogwarts, learning to be a wizard. But for now, he was simply Harry, a boy with friends, a guardian who cared about him, and a sister in all but blood who had literally crossed dimensions to rescue him. For the first time in his life, Harry Potter fell asleep without fear, surrounded by people who would always come for him if he needed them. No matter what challenges lay ahead, magical or mundane, he would face them with his new family beside him, bridging 2 worlds with the power of their connection. Epilogue 2 years later, King's Cross Station bustled with morning commuters as a strange group made their way to platform 9 3/4. Jim Hopper looked decidedly uncomfortable in London, constantly checking that his group stayed together in the crowd. "Remember," he instructed, "straight through the barrier. Don't stop, don't hesitate." Elle nodded seriously, pushing a trolley loaded with a trunk and an owl cage. Beside her, Harry pushed his own trolley, his new wand tucked safely in his pocket. "Ready?" Harry asked, both excited and nervous about his first journey to Hogwarts as an actual student. "Ready," Elle confirmed. Together, they ran at the solid-looking barrier between platforms 9 and 10, passing through seamlessly to emerge on a platform where a scarlet steam engine waited. The Hogwarts Express. "Wow," Mike breathed, coming through behind them with Dustin. Their families had combined the trip with a London vacation, allowing Harry's friends to see him off. "Told you it was cool," Dustin said smugly, having visited Hogwarts during their adventure 2 years earlier. As they found a compartment on the train, Hopper helped stow Harry's trunk, looking increasingly emotional though he tried to hide it. "Remember what we talked about," he said gruffly. "Write every week. Use that mirror thing Dumbledore gave you to call home. And if anything weird happens, contact you immediately," Harry finished with a smile. "I know, Hop. Christmas will be here before you know it," Hopper assured him. "And we'll visit during your Hogsmeade weekends next year." Elle hugged Harry tightly. "Connected," she reminded him, tapping her temple. Their bond had only strengthened over the past 2 years, allowing them to sense each other's emotions across increasing distances. "Always," Harry agreed. "And if you need me," Elle began. "I'll call," Harry promised. "But Hogwarts is supposed to be safe. No interdimensional teleportation needed." Elle smiled at the reminder of how they'd first met. "Have fun learning magic. Real magic." "You too," Harry replied. Elle had begun her own unique magical education, working with a tutor who specialized in unconventional forms of magic. Her powers had evolved, becoming more controlled and precise under proper guidance. The train whistle blew, signaling the final call for boarding. "Time to go," Hopper said, giving Harry one last hug. "Make us proud, kid." "I will," Harry promised. As the train pulled away from the platform, Harry waved until his family disappeared from sight. The English countryside began to roll past the windows, carrying him toward Hogwarts and the magical education he'd been destined for. But unlike the original timeline, Harry Potter wasn't starting this journey alone and unwanted. He had a home to return to. A family waiting for him. Friends who knew and accepted all of him, both the wizard and the boy. And most importantly, he had Elle, the girl whose mind had reached across oceans and realities to find him when he needed her most, forever changing both their worlds in the process. Harry touched the lightning scar on his forehead, feeling the familiar warmth of the connection it shared with Elle. Whatever adventures awaited at Hogwarts, whatever challenges his unique status might bring, he faced them with a confidence and security that the cupboard-raised boy could never have imagined. For Harry Potter had discovered the most powerful magic of all, the kind that exists between people who choose to be family, who cross dimensions to rescue each other, and who never, ever give up on those they love. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.